y'all see anything?
Yeah.
Hello, testing.
Not yet, and I haven't got a
No.
notice for it.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Make sure it's not set to private.
It's Jackson again. He's Lucia-ing us again.
No.
Yeah, it says I'm
Come on,
streaming.
I'll be there.
Yeah, I don't see any. I don't see it on my phone either. I'm checking.
Yeah,
Let me
it's not popping up yet.
Yeah, not yet.
No.
I'm ping hide. Is it set to private or can you not see that?
Me? No, I can't see it.
Well, I was saying Andy
Oh,
Andy
no.
Lex.
And yeah,
I
oh,
can't.
yeah.
No, I can't see. I can't see anything on the Last Star channel, as in like the new stream. I can't tell if it's set to private or not.
I am messaging Hyde right now. He still hasn't responded to my other message, so I don't know. But I got perms on the Discord. I don't got the perms on the YouTube, so I can't. I can't really fuck with that. But I don't see it up at all.
Yeah, same.
Well, how's everyone's day been?
Pretty chill.
Pretty chill. Andy said he had a dream that his sister was a half mink, so he's tripping on something.
Hashtag not a furry.
That's exactly what I said.
Okay, I think I got it. Man, because it should be live soon. I just made it
Soon.
public. It was private.
Oh, it was.
Yeah,
So it was
but,
showing. It was showing then.
Good notification.
Hey, we are
You're
live.
alive.
Oh,
It
you're
still
live?
says Theory Clash. Ask the audience if you're able to change the title at all. That would be dank. Very, very, very great. I am mute.
Yeah, and it has just all of y'all's but not y'all's hyperlinks. But now that we are live, I can pop in, or you can pop in and change it up.
Yeah.
I mean, we could just put like Theory Clash Part 2 instead of Ask the Audience. Like, if someone's able to change the name, also like in that stream right now. But
Right now it's written Fury Clash as the audience. That's the name I see.
yes.
Yeah.
So, we need Andy. Are you able to change the name of the stream or no?
No, I don't think so.
I can. I have it in front of me, the video details. I was able to get into it.
Yeah, you can name it whatever. I mean, it doesn't show on the stream the theory crafting and chill part. So, I mean, you can put that if you want.
Yeah, I can't. Mess
Okay,
with it.
so
We got terrible
keep-
TJ. What's good, Teach? Damn, you come through, brother.
Yo,
With the membership. Shout out. Look at Kev getting put on.
Let's go.
so okay, Fury Clash as the audience. What did you say afterwards? I'll add that as well.
It's like,
Oh,
well,
the-
ask the audience. We don't need to put on there because this isn't technically like an
Yeah.
ask the audience stream. We just put
Yeah,
like
Fury Clash.
theory crafting and chill. You know what I mean? We got some goats in the chat already. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming through. We're just doing a little bit of a chill stream, getting everything set up still, where we're going to be kind of just like spitting and cooking back and forth for a couple hours. You guys are legends for showing up. Make sure you like the stream. And straight up WTJ for starting out right out the gate with that one gifted membership for the Last Star. That means a lot to the crew. W mans, absolute W mans.
I haven't been on YouTube in a while. They have a whole new section of emotes for Pride Month.
Yeah, I noticed that too, which was like crazy. I thought I would I got put on with the membership and I did not. It's just that time of year, I guess. But
All I gotta say is that's me on a daily.
spam them pride
Yeah.
pride emotes while you got them, guys.
Let's see, did the-
All right, so we should be good to cook very shortly. We're just getting some. Hey, here you go. Theory crafting and
Yeah.
chill. That's
Yeah.
what's up.
Yeah, the title updated. The picture's still the same though.
Yeah, wait, let me see. Yeah, so wait, I'm gonna get the other picture, send it to myself.
Is it still like the one that says like ask the audience from like a week ago, or what is it?
Nah,
No, that's the audience from yesterday where Hyde's shooting laser beams at everyone.
yeah, it's actually a pretty cool picture.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, that's funny.
I just now noticed in the laser beams it says Theory Spice.
Yeah.
Oh damn! I didn't notice. I didn't know that.
No, the more you pay attention, the more it rewards you. So it's pretty fire.
Yeah.
Shout out to Hyde for and to Cube and the rest of the folks at the last arc. Shout out to Keb. Shout out to 3 Day. There's a bunch more I'm not naming right now just because they all goaded and I'm going off the dome. But shout out to Straw Hat Lucas. Shout out to Adam Jinrakai. Shout out to all the homies. Shout out to Dill.
Pay attention to the last arc later on today because there will be Group 1's D&D session on there.
And then on Dire Regulus's channel, much later tonight, we're also going to have Group 3. So it's a very busy day for us, but we just wanted to start it off right with a chill stream with the homies. Massive shout out to Dill as well.
King Calm,
W
Group 2
Rowe.
solos.
Yeah, Group 2 solos. You can catch us on Tachi's Twitch. I think he's moving it from his YouTube to his Twitch. But I'll be uploading the videos on my channel as well. That's Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. EST. Group 2 solos. Shout out to Joshua. He's a goat, a legend, the man, the myth himself, with us today in the chat as well as in the stream.
Always here. Even if you don't know.
And then we got Andy Lex, Star Knight Risha, hosting us today. Thank you for taking the reins on this stream. We really appreciate you, brother, and we're happy to have you here as well to cook with us.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So
I'm glad to be
changed
here.
the picture, the thumbnail.
Yeah, I see it. It's
Nice.
updated, Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm gonna make this link rain. I know we got some competition right now because Dax is on with Threevil, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
they ain't the only ones who can cook. We can cook, y'all. Speaking of Cube, if you wanted to start us off, I guess,
Mhm.
as the resident chef in the house for TLA, massive shout out to the last arc, like I was saying. But Cube, what's on the agenda? What are we cooking today, brother?
Honestly, it's just a follow up of some of the talks we were having yesterday as the audience, which I think we had some interesting theories. And honestly, I would like either you or Andy Lex, bring up both of your theories, because I think it was interesting to go first on it, because we're even having talks after the stream on the VC. So I think I'd rather have one of you from there, because I think you guys had interesting takes, interesting theories.
Andy, I'm gonna relinquish the floor to you first because I'm making this rain in all the promo chats of all the discords that I can. So yeah, Andy, if you wanted to pick one of my theories or one of your theories or anything, like go ahead. But I'm gonna relinquish that to you right now, brother, for the man.
We could talk about go more into the whole the mother frame, because we both had our own takes on it, which I thought that was very interesting. I was like, oh, this is gonna be interesting. But yeah, my take was I believe in the chapter we see Capone when he's in the New World, like for the first time, he gets sucked up by something. And yeah, my theory was I believe that was the mother flame, and it was on its way to the Gorosei and Imu, gathering up energy from like Mother Nature, everything that has, you know, a soul or spirit, like people, the sun, the ocean, um, Capone's ship, and yeah, I was seeing similarities between they were saying it's this like figure coming down, this black figure or this figure, and then Saba was saying, oh, this big figure, this was shadowy, and I was just seeing a lot of similarities between those two, and it would go with the timeline too, because I'm assuming when that was shown, that was in the well, that was pre time skip, right? When that was shown, or was that in post time skip? That's what I'm not really sure about.
So that was immediately post time
Post-
skip. That was right after Return to Saba Odi, before they disembarked and all that. It was showing what the New World had to offer,
Mhm.
and it showed Rouge pulling up to Raijin Island, and then it showed like a few homies like at I think Balloon Terminal, but this was way before the Kaido reveal there. And then it was showing yeah, I think that's what it showed.
Yeah.
Beige getting sucked up.
But yeah, this would also just go with like, I'm pretty sure like what Wano was like, maybe what, 3 months, 2 months after they got to Sabaody post time skip, the Straw Hats. So this was they may have had in it maybe for 2 months already, I'm guessing, because yeah, there's not that much time has passed in post time skip. It's just only a lot of time has passed in IRL versus.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like
Yeah.
it's only been probably a total of, I would say, like a month, and then Wano was like another month and a half, so maybe 3 months tops.
Yeah.
You know, since that post time skip happened. Like since Fishman Island, it's been like maybe 3 months tops. You know,
And
which is crazy.
it's super easy for the government or even Vegapunk or both of them to reverse engineer tech from the ancient kingdom, the Void Century, and then use it as part of their own. And even the government, they're gonna, like I was saying, it was reminding me a lot of Nikola Tesla and how they already want Vegapunk outed. Like they probably, especially now since they know how that it's working, his device, his Mother Flame, and yeah, I was just seeing a lot of similarities to Tesla, and they want to confiscate everything from his lab. CP0 is there, but CP0 might actually not go with that end of the plan. Something else might happen, but that was probably what was originally intended, and but yeah, I could see them reverse engineering Vegapunk's tech, make it their own, or find some other scientists. Plus, there's other scientists from MADS that I'm pretty sure wouldn't mind getting that pull from the government, working for the government to get out. Like Queen is like captured. Like I think Queen might be going to Impel Down right now.
Oh well, yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, like in order, like they'll agree, like, yo, if you want to get out, you just got to work for us. And yeah, I'm not really sure where Caesar is at right now. I don't know if he was he make. I think he was making up with Judge, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
him and Judge are buddy, and they're
Neomads.
forming Neomads right now. We don't know the actual, like, we know that's post Whole Cake, but like I said, they were in Wano for like at least a month and a half. So we don't know the full timeline of that, but I'm assuming it's happening like right now, you know.
And also, don't forget, Judge's island is literally his ship, so yeah, they could also be constantly moving as well. That's also the hard part to kind of know where they are.
And then back in a few chapters ago, we just Vegapunk threw a bunch of knowledge, like a bunch of info about energy, and how he was saying like how people are pretty much so like they don't notice all the energy that's around them. They can't take advantage of it. And yeah, he could be referring to like how everything has a soul spirit. Everything can have hockey. Like with if you have the voice of all things, you could sense all that. Like how when Zoro was able to cut the Mr. One, he was able to see pretty much hear the voice probably like of the other objects and all that. Like I find that's really important in the world of One Piece. And yeah, you could also like use it for energy, and like those things that were sucking up Capone, like it could also just absorb energy around it to keep it floating. And the first thing I thought when I saw that years ago, I thought it was Shiki. It has something to do with Shiki.
Hey,
Yeah.
there you go. That's one of my main guesses for who the Lurking Legend actually is, except for me, obviously.
It could also be some part of Shiki too. Maybe they got DNA of Shiki and were able to use his devil fruit powers to help it float in the air too. But we haven't seen that device again, and the next time we see something somewhat similar to it was when we see the Lelouchia getting Lelouchia, that term, the object above the sky, and we see all those. I think it was 16 lasers. There's this video I saw by Arthur. He goes over how 16's really important. It means a lot, like the gods.
Bro, it's
bullets,
crazy.
something like with Doflamingo, and I was like mind blown when I saw that. I never knew that, and but yeah, you see in the Capone part when they show Capone getting sucked up, those suckers, those big sucker things that are sucking them up.
Pause.
They're really
Pause, bro.
yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm just. I
They're
was
really,
just saying pause.
oh,
Like,
they're really big, like they're really wide, like so that
oh
could
my
actually
God.
house multiple beams, like those 16 beams we've seen, because there's only I think 8 of them in the chapter. I think it's 594. I could be wrong. Where it's sucking up Capone, and yeah, maybe they could be housing 2 beams each, and that could be 16. And
Yeah.
I really liked also Vex's take also from it. If you want to bring up yours, because ours are different about what you think.
Yeah, so this is kind of like the perfect timing because I just made this link rain in like about 30 discords, and I'm pretty sure I got everything I need to. I plugged it everywhere I can at this point, so I am now done with my promo. What I was trying to put down yesterday in very little amount of time, because like you'd be surprised how fast like a 30 or what is it, like 3 minutes goes to cook. But basically I was thinking that like the mother flame or mother frame or whatever is specifically just a modified version of the island air con system or air conditioning that Atlas introduced us to in 1062, in conjunction with some other harmless tech that has been utilized to weaponize it, using specifically like a Fresnel lens and maybe even the photonic gloves technology to physically interact with the like everything. But that way it wouldn't require as much energy to output like such lasers that could go like a lot like longer distances and whatnot, because we've seen lighthouses specifically being used in the world of One Piece at the Twin Capes, Crocus, at the beginning of right at the beginning of the Grand Line at Reverse Mountain. But we also we have like a Lunarian, and we have no idea how he came to be in this world so recently. And it makes sense to me that if they had like a Lunarian that had been given the perpetual youth from the Oppi no Mi's perpetual youth surgery, and they kept her, that person, like as the mother flame, like if they kept that person and were using them as like a slave battery for this specific piece of malicious technology that I think Saturn put together, as Saturn is like a straight up military mind who is scientifically, mostly brilliant as well. I think it would make sense, and it lines up with whenever we got the reveal of them figuring out Stussie's clone. That timeline matches up to about the same time that Albert, aka King, would have been broken out of Punk Hazard or somewhere around that. So if they hadn't perfectly gotten cloning all the way down yet, but they were like working on it, right? Like I think it would make perfect sense as to how we have a Lunarian in today's day and age if they were to use this perpetually young eternal flame, Lunarian basically, to clone, like, or attempt to clone off of. And like if King himself was one of the first attempts at a Seraph.
I love that. Like just the idea of using the perpetual youth on a Lunarian, like mind blown when I heard that yesterday.
Yeah, I tried to be pretty original with this one, and thank you guys for coming through and handing me that W. I needed to redeem myself after getting knocked out so early at the first Ask the Audience, but I emerged triumphant, and I like I said, that was my first theory that I really fully cooked up. I got half-baked theories for days. These homies all know me on VC for the past couple of months, where I spit game in a VC, but like actually like getting all the receipts and compiling everything and like formatting it in a digestible way and things like that, especially when you only got 3 minutes to cook. That was the first time I really got like a theory all the way more or less figured out. And Cube was talking to me after the stream and everything as well about some more potentialities, which we can unpack today for these lovely goats in the chat. I see we got 11 watching now. Everybody's amazing. Thank you for showing up. Make sure you like the stream. But that's the basics of my mother flame theory, is that it's just the island air conditioning system that Vegapunk did in conjunction with some other things being fueled by a perpetually young eternal Lunarian or eternal flame.
No,
Which
that's
I like
great.
a lot because it does
Yeah.
give credence to this. He said there are black clouds, so if we can make a connection with black clouds of awakening, they could be think that the clouds are black or it's just black smoke from whatever they're using because it's based off fire. So I do like that as well.
One thing that goes with the perpetual youth, or with being young, is I noticed it while doing a little research the other day when Lilith is talking about to Frankie and the other Straw Hats about the flame. How do you keep this? I think it was the air conditioning thing she was talking about, or the weather systems. Like, how do you use energy for all this? And she's like, if only I had a son, like my own son. She says something like that. I'm like, what if she actually means like like a person's son, not like an actual son, and that son could be like a Lunarian. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that could be a really cool double entendre. I like that a lot, actually. And I didn't even really think of that until you brought it up. So that's brilliant. I think that, yeah, like a lot of the things that were said in 1062 when we're first introduced to some Vegapunk tech, I think a lot of those are meant to be like that's Oda trying to be sly. And I
Okay.
think that a lot of those things that like we first got when we got the egghead are actually going to be extremely important. You know what I mean? And Atlas was kind of like showing us a whole lot of the tech right away whenever she got introduced, specifically the food simulating thing, and then the island aircon, which they had said that they had circulated blueprints, so they're out there. But they said that there were two main reasons as to why they haven't been able to be mass produced. One of which being the lack of competent engineers, because they had spit some blueprints out, but none of them could follow blueprints. The second reason was because of a lack of resources. I'm almost positive that if there is a military, god of science that we now know the title of Saturn is something along those lines in the official translation, he could probably follow those blueprints, right? And as far as resources go, yeah, I think that the using a female, or like it doesn't even have to be a female Lunarian, but using a Lunarian that's just perpetually young, that would solve the resource issue, right?
Yeah, I think just like in general in the world of One Piece, that actually might be key to a lot of things, like being young. Like, when you're young, like you have like you have like this imagination, and like it's pretty much like versus somebody that's older, their imaginations may have been like tamed. You're not as creative as you used to be, and I think Luffy is a child at heart, so which is why he takes advantage of his fruit. Like it's only depending on like how far your imagination can go, and I think this is also connected to Emu. If Emu is a kid, not really somebody that's old, and also that has the perpetual youth, or found some other way to do it. But yeah, like the more imagination you have, like the sky's the limit. Like you could pretty much come up with anything, and I feel like the government wants that for themselves.
I love that you said that the sky's the limit. We'll get right back onto that in just a second. I read in the chat, WTJ, he's looking out for us. He said that you're coming in a little quiet, Andy Lex.
Yeah.
If you could up your your output volume for the stream, if
Yep.
that's possible. I have you at 140, and you sound pretty good, so maybe that's like a good number. But thank you, TJ, for looking out. How do the rest of us sound? Y'all want to everybody do a little mic check real quick?
Yo, yo, yo. Everybody can hear me well?
Yeah, you sound good to me, Bill. But you always sound good to me, brother.
Yeah,
But
hello.
I didn't say
Soft
anything.
still.
was that Cube?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just Cube.
Hey, that's a
Sitting here-
compliment. That's a compliment, Cube. That's a compliment. But yeah, I think
Oh, my favorite comment in the chat so far is hashtag Vex the Fox.
oh my god.
Hashtag Foxy Vex.
That's just because you haven't made it rain hashtag not his world in the chat yet. That's why it's your favorite. Shout out to 3Day. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person, mod person who taught me everything I know about my wrench game. Who's in the chat making the making it rain links, and also has just a really amazing script that Den K on YouTube has put out recently into a video. 3Day, you absolutely killed it. That video is amazing. It's about Big Mom. If you want to drop that link for us in the chat, that would be freaking amazing. Everybody go check out the video. It's really solid. But always want to
And
shout out. Yeah, I always want to
Yeah.
shout out to 3Day anytime I see you pulling up, which is pretty much always because you a goat.
So yeah, it was shared like this, you know. I'll always already prepared. So it's there. Guys, go check out, well, after the stream, obviously. Go save the link and go check it out after the stream.
And like the stream, subscribe to The Last
Yeah.
Ark if you haven't already.
Facts. I don't know
and-
what you're doing if you haven't already liked these streams.
Exactly.
Yeah, like the stream, please.
Pledge allegiance to the Last Ark crew.
Oh my
You know what?
goodness.
You know you want to.
Hey, it's not that hard. All you gotta do is fly their flag.
It's free too. It is 100% a free way to support the homies and let us know that you're coming through every single time we go live, which is which I also
3
want
days.
to thank.
Got
Yeah,
another
what
one coming out in a few hours.
Oh man,
So, yeah.
I'm on the edge of my
So-
seat for that.
So I want to know. So because we have, we also have Joshua and Ragnar. What are your thoughts about what we just spit about?
Yeah, I really like the theory about the Lunarian. But what I think about the weapon above Lulusia is that there are two parts of it. One, the mother frame. It's actually, what Vegapunk built. It's actually only the power source. And the weapon itself, it's a Uranus.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, I brought up specifically a point yesterday, and you guys should definitely all go check out the Theory Clash Ask the Audience that we streamed yesterday on the Last Arcs Live tab on their channel. I brought up that specifically. I mean, I'm not gonna be mad if it is Uranus, but specifically, I think that when Ivankov and Dragon were spitting in 1086, the most recent chapter, I think because they specifically went out of their way to mention, like, Oda used them as a mouthpiece to basically, and I don't think it's like actually debunking anything, but I just think that it's like a little bit sus. Like, if any of these things that were mentioned in 1086 by Ivankov were to actually be true, it just feels like there would be so much buildup for not quite as much of a delivery. I think these are all red herrings. So things like Emu having the perpetual youth, I don't believe it now because Ivankov said it. I don't believe it. And so things like the Mother Flame being an ancient weapon, I don't believe it. I think it would be too simple if that were to be the case. And this is like red herrings that Oda is throwing at us right now. So I mean, I like Ivankov. I just think that there's no way that's how we get the reveal. You know what I mean?
I'm with that too. Like the whole thing with it still could be a thing if that Lily is Emu. Like that was like the most obvious choice back when it was revealed a few weeks ago. And but yeah, I think so. Yeah, that'd be too easy. Like Oda's like wants us to think that, but deep down, you know, it's something else. Like you want it to be something else too.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna be mad if it is like Uranus or like we even know now that down the line, the blueprints that were passed down for Galileo were not specifically for Pluton. What they were they were for a counter weapon to Pluton. So if this isn't Uranus, but this is specifically the counter weapon to Uranus, and maybe it's that, which is like a less ancient weapon, but still like I don't know, like, and I'm not gonna be mad, like I said, if it is an ancient weapon. I just think that that's too easy. Like if Oda were to just give it to us like that, I feel like that would be flat. And outside of the York is a traitor thing, I just feel like he hasn't really done anything flat in Egghead. Everything's been peaks and no valleys, except for that one thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't like York as a traitor. I just don't. Um,
I mean, the main question that came out of the chapter is it an ancient weapon or is it the Vegapunk creation? I think it's both.
Yeah,
I can see
like,
that.
like what you said, like exactly. Like I think Vegapunk was able to reverse engineer tech from the ancient kingdom and use it as his own. He found out a way, like probably using energy or something like that with or the AC system that Vex was talking about. Like yeah, fire could be the key because Lilith did say that they're able to convert like anything to energy, like even fire. Like they could use lightning, they could use fire. There could be a mink using electro also trying to power it up.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Um, yeah, and I mean, just another small little thing to feed into the whole cloning thing is like now they're trying to get gigantification correct and whatnot, and we noticed that they said like little Jim baby, like little S Shark, he's massive. He's an absolute unit compared to like the normal Jinbei. So it would just make sense again to me if like they only barely figured out how to clone like Lunarians whenever Albert hit the scene, and he was young, just like how we see the Seraphim being young right now, because like they're probably being like accelerated aging, like we see in the Germa tech and things like that. But maybe they didn't like age them all the way because they needed to like figure out like some kinks in the system or something like that. But with them having more abilities to gigantify than what we can see, because like Caesar doesn't work for the government, so him trying to crack this, just they could be ahead of the game. And if they have like half Lunarian, half giant genes, that's also got like the green blood thrown in there, and that's like basically the concoction for what a seraphim is. That would make sense as to why they call them the strongest creatures, like the strongest like thing on the sea, which is pretty crazy.
Another thing is like, what if the government they're trying to get the green blood of Luffy to, that's like their next call to like next action they want to do just to get that power he has, the being able to pretty much like that he is his own infinite power source depending on
I love that, but I think they want that power to be hidden. They don't want it to be so publicly known, so I think they want to squash that out from existence. And it would make more sense to me if they wanted the green blood of Law, so that they can make an army of invincible Lunarians, and then that would be like like I think that would be the more public route that they would be taking, but like maybe behind the scenes for sure.
Do you think they have it though already, Law? Because he was a Shichibukai. They maybe in order to become one they asked for a blood sample or something.
Well, we've only seen Seraphim of the first 7, so I don't know, because we don't know when they all joined. We have more solid timeline of like when Blackbeard joined, when Law joined, and when Edward Weevil joined, who is arguably, but not technically confirmed, a clone himself. And then we also have, like Buggy and whatnot. And so like Buggy and Impel Down was confirmed to not have they didn't know while he was Impel Down. They didn't know that he had a devil fruit at that point. That's why he wasn't wearing Seastone's shackles.
It's
But
also why he was on level 1.
yeah, and then by the time he ended up legitimately becoming a warlord, I'm sure they knew. But I don't think that, like, so we only saw 7 pods on Egghead. I'm pretty sure there's only 7 Seraphim, and I don't think there's been enough time, like, because it takes 5 years according to Germatech to age a clone to be full, like a to full maturity, and we had the 2-year time skip. I just don't think there's been enough time if they did get DNA from the newer wave of warlords, which I think it's just Blackbeard, Law, Buggy, and Weevil. Those are the only new ones we got post time skip, right?
Yeah, 2 things I want to mention. First is, what if the Marineford War, was the reason why they got all the Shichibukai there was just to get their DNA? I'm pretty sure they all somehow got hurt a little. Maybe not.
That is so. That is nutty theory, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Welcome, Hyde. Dead Dan Kushi. Your ears must have been burning.
And then second is
Yeah.
I feel like pretty much the only thing that's keeping Law alive is his powers. Like, I feel like Law's story is done. Like, everything that he was put in the story for, he completed. He finished Doflamingo. Kaido's taken down. Big Mom is taken down. Like, he's pretty much...
He hasn't learned the will of D.
And I mean,
yes,
there's
yes,
the dangling plot thread that his story isn't fully fulfilled until he performs the perpetual youth surgery, presumably on Luffy, which is like the common thought. Which I mean, but I like. Don't put that evil on my boy Andy Lex.
No, I love Law. I hope he doesn't die, but I think it sounds a lot more possible, especially what happened recently in the manga. Like Law is like what Beppo did. Oh my god, that hit me so hard. Beppo was...
Neko, I am right there with you. I want to see my boy see the end of the story, but just from a narrative and creative writing standpoint, Law has been like, they introduced this Chekhov's gun with the whole perpetual youth surgery, and if they don't actually actively clone him and get green blood of the Opnomi, I'm almost positive Law is gonna die, but it's gonna be much later in the story. Like, I don't think it's anytime soon. But I'm right there with you, Neko. I do not want Law to. He's literally my favorite character in the story. Like,
Maybe the final chapter and Law uses the surgery on Luffy.
I'll cry.
No.
I'll cry so hard.
Nah, Luffy gonna die.
Hey,
Yeah,
at least
honestly,
Law would make it to the end of the story, though.
Nah, Law will...
Luffy can die.
Law will be... They'll like find the One Piece, and then Law will hear the story about Laboon and Brook, and then Law will be so touched by it, he'll give the perpetual youth to Laboon, so Brook and Laboon could live together forever.
Oh, shit.
Man, why are you doing
That
this?
goes hard, though.
I thought you were gonna say to Brook to restore him to, like, restore his
you-
humanity.
Like, is
Are you
Brook
trying to
technically
make me-
immortal? Like, can Brook die? Like, he can't
We
age.
don't know.
No.
Yeah, we
All
don't know. Which could.
So I got
which
this
feeds
crazy
into my
one, right?
theory.
We're in theory crafting a chill right now, right?
Hey,
Could a
Yeah.
strong enough Conqueror's Hockey Blast kill Brook by deactivating his fruit?
Speaking of that, how
For
could
sure.
Blackbeard, Brook comes into contact with Blackbeard, would Brook die? like when Blackbeard.
Right.
No,
These are the
I
things
think-
that are possibilities.
I think that when we see him astral project, that's all that would happen. I don't think that, because like it showed his soul escaping, and then it came back. So I mean, we know that souls are something that exists in One Piece, and I think that specifically it would just become unbound to his body until Blackbeard were to, like, if Sea Stone or Blackbeard or like the Curse of the Ocean were to be used or something like that, like, or any water above waist, I think it would be that his soul would not be able to be anchored to his body, but his soul would still exist. It's not like you just obliterate this man's soul. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it would be like the astral
Dude.
projection thing.
So also like Brook,
Genius. You could probably detach the two or like deactivate.
also
Yeah.
for some reason when Brook drinks milk, he completely heals. Like, what if like Brook and that cow from the Revolutionary Army, Mushianu, they team up and like Brook's got an infinite supply of milk on him all the time.
I'm dead.
And Moda as well. Moda.
Moda
will
too.
be
Yeah,
able to get
Moda,
that
the
Moda out.
milkmaid. Yeah.
No, it's Woda. She takes dubs.
Oh my god, bro.
Not Woda from Group 2, but the
Yeah.
actual Woda.
We're summoning Kev DOG. He's gonna pop in the chat. He's sneezing. He's sneezing in Dak's chat right now with Threevil. Thank you all, by the way, for being here. While there were there's other goats cooking right now, and you guys just showed up here. That means so much to us.
Do you
And also like the stream as well. I love what everyone's saying, but if Brother Ragnar, if the Lord Vegeta, the Gate Guardian himself, wants to hop in, I know you might be at work right now because I don't see you in the chat, but he's been pretty quiet, so I wanted to let him cook.
Isn't he in the cult? Isn't he in the cult?
Yeah,
He's
he
in the
is.
call. He's just muted, so I don't know if he's able to speak. But if so, I want
Brother Ragnar.
Oh, there you go.
It's cool. I can. I'll drop some fresh
Can you guys
spice
hear
if
me?
you want.
No,
Yeah.
we can hear you. What's up, Ragnar? How you doing? How do you feel about some of these theories we've been dropping?
All right. So far, I like the idea of using a Lunarian as like a source of power. I think it's a pretty, I call it widespread theory currently in the series. And there's some validity, like there's some valid reason for people thinking that way, but I kind of think differently because I don't think it's a Lunarian. I think whatever it is that, okay, this is crazy because but Cube knows this theory I'm talking about. I have a theory when it comes to the balance, and I think the technology that Vegapunk currently uses for the weather atmosphere control is basically what Weatheria has been studying their entire lives. It's the same thing connected to what the Elbaf warriors celebrate during the Sun Festival or the Solstice Festival, whatever they want to call it. And I think all that comes back to the Emperor Cloud and cloud seeding. So I think what's happening in the Mother Flame, it's probably hinted back to Big Mom, where it's a living cloud, which is a callback to like Nimbus or something like that. So like a living flame cloud. That's what I think it is.
Oof.
So far, I love the idea of Lunarian.
Nimbus thing.
And that also feeds into the Sun Wukong agenda, like having like
Yes, it does.
yeah, like no, that's fire. It's almost quite literally fire. Like I love that.
Yeah, great.
I only caught that part of the stream, so I don't know what else was mentioned.
We were talking about Brook and his devil fruit, like weaknesses as well,
Brooke,
potentially.
I completely agree with Vexus. I don't know how many times I've had this debate. Brook's soul abilities have nothing to do with his devil fruit, and I will stand on that hill and I will die on that hill with 50 million arrows and swords piercing through my body, full Kike Genkai Genjutsu from Itachi. I don't give a shit. I will tell you this right now, that is not devil fruit power. So Blackbeard's thing would do nothing to him. He'll be fine.
I love that. Yeah, Brooks. He's an artist. He's got soul. He loves his art. What he does. He's a musician. So I think that really, like with Django, like that adds a lot to what he can do, what he's capable of. Like we've seen like what he could do in Fishman Island. He literally makes everybody like he made the new Fishman pirates think like they were like at a party like celebrating shooting fireworks, but like that seems pretty OP. He was able to control all those fishermen.
What kind of gets me though is that we find out now that there's such thing as observation killing hockey. If there were something like similar for specifically like armament hockey and things like that, like if he were imbuing his soul, if this were some hockey feat potentially, or a combination of those, and it's through willpower alone that this man's able to do this kind of stuff. If somebody were to come in and like, or if he were to get squashed to the point where he loses his willpower, like Crocodile, and like and others of the such, and like but like if he were to have like atrophied hockey, would he then see, like, I don't know if it's like tied to the devil fruit, but if it's tied to hockey, would that insta kill Brook? That's the question I'd be more on with,
My question My
if
qu- my question,
would be strong enough to resolve his devil fruit abilities.
but also the real question we have to ask ourselves is, because Brooke did say in the flashback, he was trying to find his own body, right? I do agree the whole soul thing don't think it's that much applied to his fruits. I think it's more preserving his memories than anything else. But my question is this: let's say Brooke survives with his soul. My question is this: does he need to connect to his body at one point, or can he That's a fair question as well.
No,
Because
there's only one thing going on in my opinion. The same death for Brooke should be the same death for anyone in the One Piece world, which is cold, which is frozen. Like, you only die when you're forgotten, and the only way to forget somebody is to basically, like, you can preserve the will using the cold, like we've seen with Joy Boy's hat. Impel Down level 6 is so basic, but above that is the frozen hell. And we know that, like in Wano, the fire is what lifts the souls to the afterlife, right? That's what we were shown with the lanterns and stuff. That's how you get there. So it's like Song of Ice and Fire sort of vibes. Like, and Brooke is, if you froze him, he'd be fucked.
my question was more specifically: does Brooke need to connect to his body? That's the thing. Like, all his power, but can he become soulless? That's my question. Like, can he survive, like, live without a body? That was my question. Actually.
Yeah, I think so. Until he's frozen, like, his name, as long as his name's remembered, like, which, I mean, this is probably why he's a musician, right? Is because we get the whole Bink Saki idea, and we know that, like, or particularly Ku, that like hypnotism and possession is a massive thing, and control is a massive thing in One Piece, and we see it used through the arts, whether or not it be dance, music, painting, often used by kids, for example, because the powers are so OP. If they were done by adults,
Also cooking. For Oda, Big Mom's son, who is a cook, is called a hypnosis, and you think of Big Mom and the Bratzi arc, it does change someone's will if you have a good meal, depending on, Don Krieg.
I mean, Stroyson is an opera singer and a chef.
Well, I mean,
like,
if
done.
to feed into this, pun intended, the word yomi for the yomi yomi no mi in Japanese literally just translates to the underworld, but it doesn't technically actually mean rebirth. So if this could be a fruit that, instead of being rebirth, or like, reincarnation, if it just simply means that, like, you can come and go from the underworld as you please as a soul, I think that would make more sense.
It may have enhanced his soul powers, his hockey. Like, Brooke, even Zoro, like Zoro was able to put, like, step one foot in hell, one foot in the real and like living life. Brooke did it too. He was a part of him is in hell, a part of him is in the IRL, like,
I think
living world.
It's a solid example. It's probably best evidenced by that whole scene with Zoro seeing that, like, Grim Reaper thing. There was no body, there was a spirit, right? So I'm guessing one doesn't have to require the other. Thus, Imu could probably be a spirit if need be.
I'm not gonna lie, one of the coldest scenes in the anime, I was waiting for them to get there for like over a year, and it was fire. If you haven't seen that episode, go check it out. I think it's 1064. It's so good. Like that panel freaked me out, and I had no idea what was going on with the whole Grim Reaper thing. But then, like, seeing it in the anime, I still have no idea what's going on technically. Although we can cook on that.
It was cool. Yeah, it looked cool. Personally, like, I think, firstly, just touching off what you were saying, Vex. Like, when I first saw it in the chapter, I was like, "This is sick." I love, like, in something this big, just to have something refreshing like that. Just your shit just flipped on its head, like, okay, and it's with Zoro, so it's like, yeah, okay, we might not find out more soon, but something's going on here. And my personal thoughts are that personally, I think that, like, it ties to the what's his name, Ryuma, the sword god, and I reckon when his grave was desecrated, I think something happened which cursed him, and that, like, the fact that Zoro had the Wado is why he was there. And it's the same thing that killed Kuina, I think, or, like, put Kuina in that catatonic state, I personally think. Like, I think it come for the Wano, and I personally think 3 sword style, the Wado, Yoru, and Enma. I think them 3 together maybe will make the King of Hell. And I think that's what the dude was doing with Zoro. He was coming for the blade. We just didn't see what happened. So I'm not sure if I missed anything there, but that's my thoughts from that situation.
No, that's dope.
No, I like that because I do also feel like, I still feel like, part of my headcanon is in Solar Bark, the way Oars reacted with having Luffy's shadow and trying to do Gomu attacks felt like there was something more about his connection to the Gomu. And I said, what if, Luffy was fighting against someone who had his own shadow? But what if Zoro was fighting against the previous guy who had his will, the same will, Ryuma? Would explain why both of them have one eye, and we saw that Grim Reaper, especially in the anime, he was introduced with that eye on the same side of where Zoro's
on
eyes.
his right eye.
Yeah, the side that was cut off. So I'm wondering if. Like, it could be the thing that Ryuma was missing. He never had the Wado Ichimonji, or there was another blade, and maybe Zoro is fulfilling that thing that Will want all those time ago, become the King of Hell, so the only one who's able to do it.
So,
I like, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you can finish.
No. I said no because I like the way Hyde put all together because it actually it made me think of that. But yeah.
I like the Wado Ichimonji. Like, I remember talking with you about that and a few other people as well. Marth was cooking on some theories with that as well. Shout out to Tainted Marth. Go check him out. And shout out to Den Den Kushi Heights channel. Check that out as well. They both got pretty good videos on it, I believe. Really good videos. I think that, like, obviously the whole Enma, King of Hell, like, reference is there as well. And it could be specifically that might be, a lot of people brought this up right after the panels, like over almost a year and a half ago at this point, which is crazy. But that it could be like the Klabautermon of Enma, like, or something like the physical manifestation of Enma. And I know, like,
and that was going
it's kind of
crazy.
goes hand in hand with Parvision's Mihawk is a sword theory. Check out Parvision too if you haven't already. I think he's abandoned that agenda. But he did have a pretty interesting.
To be honest, I think, personally, I think he should revisit that. Sorry to interrupt, Lex. Like, he should revisit it.
I was about to
and
say
he
the
should
same
look
thing.
at Zoro and other people. Yeah.
Yeah, that really opened my mind with what's like possible in the series, that Mihawk's sword. I'm like, damn, I never considered something like that before.
Yeah, and I mean that's just one of many though, because like when you brought up Ryuma as well, that's something I've thought about, is that like you said cold specifically might be like the way that things die. I think cold is actually a way of preserving, because we were told that whenever Ryuma's corpse was plundered from Ringo, the land that was originally run by the Shimotsuki daimyo, and like that prefecture was completely owned by that family, it's the winter like climate area, which models all the provinces or whatever in Japan, but specifically Ringo is known to be like all iced over, and it was because of their perpetual freezing, climate and whatnot, that Ryuma's body 400 plus potentially years later, we don't have a solid day, but we know it's around 400 or more years, it was still not decayed. It was preserved to the point where we saw zombie Ryuma with flesh still intact on his body because of that permafrost and whatnot. So I think that death might be, like it's. I think that it's there's more of an argument. I don't know about more of an argument. There's definitely still an argument that it gatekeeps you from the afterlife.
Like, I think so. I think like death is like inevitable. Well, no, not inevitable, but death in the One Piece world is when the soul goes into the tree, right? I imagine. And yeah, so I agree that it's like preventing it from doing that. And we do see tons of examples. You've got the whole Oars thing. You've got the, as I say, the Straw Hat Marijois. There's a lot of examples in the story, and it like the what they call the two giants. That stand in the frost.
Oh, the Eddie Cool brothers.
Eddie Cool brothers, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like they both kind of got like straw hats, right? And they're both stood there in the cold. And Drum Island looks like it used to have great trees that were cut down in half, and that's now frozen. So I do completely agree. That's like about preserving the will, and burning, just like in real life, is combustible. It's like it like costs. It burns reserves. It is actually writing about it in scripts and stuff made me think about real life quite a bit and how that all works.
That's actually pretty much what Akiji did with Saul. Saul, he put him in a ice capsule, and I'm pretty sure the fire in Ohara is what
Ice-
melted him.
Ice Time Capsule
Ice
is the
Time
name.
Capsule, yeah,
And and the other name he's got is Ice Age. So like you can see definitely that whoever had that back in the day was probably on all sorts of
menace.
spice.
But like
Yeah.
to go along with tie this back to the Zoro thing is that like I don't think that's the only thing that can prevent you from death. I think that like will like and that might be potentially like when Brook ate his fruit, he inherited a will of a previous user that allowed him to be able to kind of like break these rules, but also like Zoro, who has like what one might say like an undying will, because he has died before, and this is confirmed in an SBS by Oda, whether it's a troll or not. I think nothing's wasted by that man, and every little, little gooberish, like a nugget that he gives us in the SBSs, no matter how troll it may seem, there's a little nugget of truth in there with it. He said Zoro literally died whenever nothing happened, but he was lost, so he came back to his body,
I
like his
agree.
soul, and so we've seen Brook's soul get like lost as well, and that's why it took him like I think like a year or 2 years to get back to his body, and he came back to his skeleton. But beyond that,
like they
Go ahead.
both they both obviously have the connection there of being lost, wandering souls. Like this idea that and I love it. I hope he does go all the way with it. Like that,
Well,
like death is so scared of Mr.
if you think about how
Bushido that he comes back.
Yeah, if you think about how ghosts are explained in a lot of common mythology and like folklore and like pop culture, is that like it's when you have lingering needs or wills or wants on this plane.
Exactly.
You don't travel to the next one. And so now let me recontextualize the Grim Reaper scene with Zoro. He had just been like for one, Chopper, who has a artificial, arguably human will, which might be even stronger than a normal human will because of the devil fruit. Like we don't even know like really what's up with that. But Chopper was immediately thinking right before we saw that scene, I hope Zoro lives. And so that might have fed into this, but also Zoro, who has died before and has precedence of coming back from this type of thing, sees this Grim Reaper, and the one thing he's thinking right beforehand is the battle's not over. Luffy needs to win. Like, what more can I do for my crew? I hope my crew is safe. He still had all these things that he hadn't accomplished yet. And so then when the Grim Reaper shows up, what if this man struck a bargain? And he was like, listen, like, you can take my life, but don't take my captains. And what happens immediately after, spoilers for those who are anime only, we see Luffy die. So what if, I mean, obviously the awakening to the Nika is like, like that's the big argument that a lot of people have, like for Luffy's death and like him getting out of it. I think that Zoro might have had a part of that. And like if like specifically Zoro like struck up a deal with the Grim Reaper, like, listen, you don't take my life or my captain's life until we accomplish what we need. Like if he like literally like conquers, clashed with the Grim Reaper and won.
I'm still starstruck in you saying this because I heard you say it last time and I was like, damn. And now I'm like, damn.
Damn, Zoro, low key or not, is secretly the one carrying all of Wano. He's the one that saved Wano, technically.
I mean, he shouldered Luffy's burden post mark.
Yeah, this would be parallel
just
to the
Also,
what's it called? Thriller Bark, when Zoro took all the pain.
Nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing happened. Pretty much.
Yeah, so I think that would just be like another way that we can explain. There's like so many different ways we can kind of contextualize and explain what happened in that scene where we just legitimately have no idea what actually went down with the Grim Reaper. And I love that we can go all these different ways, and none of them are really debunked. Like Oda just has a crazy creative mind that like lets us just kind of like bounce off of these. Like it's like there are no boundaries. We can just bounce wherever we want with it. But I think that's my favorite thing that I've heard, and obviously I'm biased because it came out of my mouth, and I love the sound of my own voice.
wait, before we go anywhere else, there's something actually when you guys were talking about, death scared of Zoro. Zoro is fleeing death, or like death can't find Zoro. What if it's like a perfect parallel would be Odin was coming to take out Orochi, and Orochi tricked him with I'll give you 5 years, pop up, and then I will leave. What if instead Death does not leave, actually finds them, but it scans or whatever because it did this weird thing with the eye. What if like it sees something about Zoro about Luffy, and so instead it says, "Okay, I'll be back." Instead, it doesn't. It actually lets him go because for some reason there's a purpose, like like they're
Yeah.
worthy maybe.
I think that could go hand in hand with the mink medicine as well, because it reminded me of like hero water, which is like the specifically something we saw back in Alabasta, where it's like it was something that people who were never coming back from war would take so that they can like perform with 10 times the strength on the front line, but it would come at the cost of their life. So like they would not see the end of the battle, but they'd be able like, so I mean like, and the mink medicine specifically, it's like a bargain, right?
Yeah.
If you're bargaining with the devil or like with the Grim Reaper or something like that. I think that's just like it's definitely fitting. And so that's where my brain's been at mostly lately, and I just want to like, bounce it off of you guys. All of the
Don't you
ghosts here.
think Luffy may have done that too? And Impel Down when even Cove gave him that I forgot the name of the attack, the hormone thing. And I forgot what it was called.
It's like adrenaline, basically.
Yeah, it shortened his lifespan, or it made him. It did that. I think also it did that right. It shortened his lifespan, right?
Well, and the Tamate Baku, the energy steroids as well. We saw all of Hodi's crew being like hella old at the end of the arc. So I mean, yeah, there's precedence, and we even saw when Gear 5 powered down for a bit. Luffy looked hella old.
What if that's the result of Luffy using Gear Second, and it's just adding up, and then with the whole Even Cove thing that happened to him, like that's just the side effects. They're all coming together, and at the end of his transformation.
But wait, what if that could explain some of those people who have come from death when they were not supposed to, especially Pound and Pell? Like for some reason there was nothing in their will, and like similar to them, death gave them more time.
I don't know if I'm okay with that, just because I'm not a fan of justifying fake out deaths. But no, I get it. Yeah,
like there's something.
Muglatan, check out Muglatan on YouTube as well. Some fire spice over there. Fan of the channel, the last arc. I know I've been on a live reaction with him before. Brought up that it's similar to how the Kazembo killed Orochi once the contract was fulfilled. And then major shout out to Terrible TJ dropping a 20 in the super chat. WTJ, W's in the chat.
W.
Fans right now. He said in Buddhism, Ashura are tied to the. I'm not gonna be able to pronounce that with any gusto. Sorry, but which is the belief that the three realms. I'd say the three realms represent life, death, and rebirth, and past, present, and future. Maybe Zoro encounters a purgatory realm in between life and death.
What if each sword he wields could represent that life, death, and rebirth? That is the whole three thing. That's the first thing that popped in my head while reading that right now.
That is amazing. And his attack name, like what is it? Like the
Purgatory Onigiri.
3 billion worlds. No, the 3 billion worlds, like the Tracheocosm, which is a direct reference to Buddhist belief of a reality within a reality within a reality kind of thing.
And I think with the whole thing, like what Zoro did to Mr. One, how he had to, hear the voice of all things, pretty much that to be able to cut, you got to hear the voice of steel or metal, or like to be able to cut it. What if, when you, I'm pretty sure he's gonna fight the jailer from Impel Down. What's his name? Shiryu, yeah. Right. And Shiryu's probably gonna awaken that fruit or have something to where he's able to make his existence like completely disappear to like another realm, another dimension. And Zoro, in order to cut him, he has to be able to like see or hear the different realms to be able to cut him. Kind of like how in One Punch Man, that samurai, atomic samurai, I forgot his name, he's able to cut through dimensions with his slash, with his sword.
Fire. Yeah, and I mean Black Clover shout out with the dimensional slices as well.
I was just about to ask if he was talking about Yami from
Black Clover. Yami is basically Zoro. They're almost the same. They have the same English voice actor and everything. Like, and I don't want to spoil anything from Black Clover, but if you know, you know. Like, but
Yeah.
All I gotta say, that movie is peak.
the movie is really solid. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed it more than most anime movies. It's really solid.
If we're all fanboying over Zoro, I would like to bring up. I really wished he took down Kaido, and if Kaido is still alive, if for some reason Oda keeps Kaido alive and Kaido comes out of that rubble, I could still see. I was telling Vex about this the other day. Like I could still see growth for Kaido because he hasn't. I believe Kaido hasn't awoken his fruit yet, his zone, because he never really had a challenge. He had no reason to train after pretty much ruling over Wano for so many years, and I could see I wanted Zoro to cut down his dragon form, and yeah, I could see them both coming back. Zoro has better control of his Conqueror's Haki, his advanced Conqueror's Haki, and Kaido has more control of his powers, better, and Zoro takes him out, and that could be growth for both characters. I really hope that happens.
I think it's crazy that people are still on ZKK. Like,
I was just about to bring that up too.
like One Piece theories be but no,
I am all for ZKK if it means that Zoro gets to kiss Kaido.
oh my god.
Yeah,
Yo,
exactly.
if they both get drunk enough, anything is possible.
Hey,
The true agenda.
showed us anything is possible.
They
This
could
is when
bond.
cooking goes wrong. This is like the oh my goodness. Absolutely wild. I
Yeah,
can't believe
Kaido wants a challenge. He wants another Odin. Zoro's that other Odin, and Kaido's gonna be like, "Oh my god, you're what I've been looking for all this time. It's not Joy Boy, it's you. I need another Odin. Cut me," and he starts doing that drunk.
bro.
It's going to make him a very joyful boy.
Who let this man's cook? I think we just lost subscribers. No, I'm kidding.
Eb put something in the chat. Said, I've always thought the three realms were the mortal realm, blade to be determined, heaven realm, the Wado Ichimonji, which is Kuina, and the underworld, which is Enma.
There you go. The Trinity.
And
Well, that's
that
a good
would
cooking.
make sense if Zoro ends up fighting the Gandhi Gorosei, aka Jupiter, and takes his blade.
No, the Gandhi Gorosei is Ethan Baron v. Nasjiro. Right?
That's what it was.
Definitely looks like an Ethan.
I'm gonna say this, and because we're talking now about the recent chapters, why I like that, especially with the whole underworld thing, and Deaden and Vex has heard me spit on it, but I love the Disney inspiration. As Bat, as Gecko, Seraphim Warrior, the way you want to call it, look just like Hades in the Disney movie, which was the god of the underworld. So the underworld is coming to the story in some shape or form. I do see it.
Maybe he plays some part with Brooks Awakening.
Hey,
Oh, sure.
I like
For
that.
sure. I can
Maybe
see that.
Brooks Awakening straight out opens the underworld and brings
think-
the stories.
Josh,
I've been
bro, he take his shadow, and then Brooks just like, oh, well, my soul doesn't need a shadow, my body does. Yo,
Bro.
It's not even that. Think about it. Brooke has
I
done
thought
something
Brooke was in the
that
combo for a second.
Brooke has done something that no one else in the story, as we know of. He has lived, he has died, and he has come back.
Yeah, one
Like,
foot in the
the-
afterlife, 1 foot in the living. Sorry, go.
Yeah, like he's literally what in mythology they call it anchor, a being that has
Luffy and
that
Zoro.
has foot on both ends.
A constant.
It was confirmed by the narrator, and I believe everything the narrator says. Luffy died, and he came back. And it was confirmed in SBS by Oda. Zoro died, and he came back. So, I mean, he's like, he's got bigger feats in that realm. But, I mean, there have been people who have died and came back.
No, it's more the fact that the nature of what his fruit did, because I do feel like the soul aspect doesn't necessarily mean it's his fruit. I do feel like there is something about him that I think makes him like an anchor. You know what I mean? Like someone who had a foothold on both ends. Because I do agree that both Luffy and Zoro did have died, but I think Brooks, the semantic of it is a bit different, and because of the difference, Brooke has something more unique than the others.
Yeah. I think it's possible that that ties to why it took him a while to find his body, or it wasn't where he thought it was. There might
That's
be
interesting.
something that happened in between and stuff. Like we had a real interesting conversation a week or two back. I think maybe Vex and Coob saying about how like it's possible that when Brooke went to the afterlife and then came back, he passed somebody else, like say Roger, like on the way and traded information, or like had some sort of situation like that. Maybe he's dormant, they don't know, or he doesn't know, something like that. Hopefully that makes sense. It might sound a bit wild, but like obviously we know he went to the afterlife and then came back and spent some time wandering around. So I'm curious if he saw anything during that journey.
I would say I would curious as when he came back that trip, it was over 50 years ago. There could have been someone that we'll find out in the flashback that was connected 50 years ago who had died, and maybe when he was dying, he could have crossed path with Brooke. Because Roger died 24 years ago. There could also be someone 50 years ago. That could be interesting.
I mean, it could all be Yorkie, like Yorkie, like
Oh,
Yeah.
man. I'm not gonna lie.
I think
I would watch that
thing.
spinoff. If that was a whole spinoff, just like Brooke's wacky adventures in the underworld or some shit like that.
That'd be
or, like,
amazing. That'd be amazing.
him haunting like the past peace world like 50 years ago, like without like if we just like saw him like spooking on like Herdas or something, the weather wizard in Witheria or something, like all these people that are like old enough, if he was just like popping in the background of panels and we just see him like going like yo like bro, I would watch that spin-off if that were a thing.
One thing I think
Where is that spin-off?
Brooke with the I want to bring up the Vegapunk the punk records. I think in order I had made a theory about this. In order for Vegapunk to achieve this, I think Brooke might be key to that, and like how he's able to like he could probably make everybody manipulate everybody's soul. They could all be like in tune together. Like what's that word? The thing from Soul Eater, when the
soul resonance.
Soul, yeah, they could have soul resonance, yeah. And I like, yeah, he could like when in Marineford there was a big announcement and all the TVs, and then in like, yeah, Brooke could do something like that, play a song everybody knows in the world, like Bink Sake. And then I had found this other thing I was researching, that the sound the earth sings in an F sharp chord. I'm no music expert, just to let before I'm no music. But yeah, what if you need a string to be a string instrument to be able to achieve that? And yeah, Brooke could play his violin in that chord, and everybody becomes in harmony, and it'll make it easier for they could all access the punk records, and then they could learn about the histories from the past at the same time. They're like all like in a trance. And
like I definitely think Bink Sake is like that's what it's for. It's like a key.
Yeah.
To a lot, and like. If you play that like song, no, it's just like if you play that song, then it can like heal somebody, maybe, or like open this particular door or something.
Yeah,
it's more than that. If you think about it, you could say something about being #1 swordsman, or the Davy Backfight, same thing, or the Fire Festival. It's a means to keep your culture alive. Like it's literally, and in a One Piece world, it is very important. It is what it doesn't die out, So it's like, I do feel like the Bink Sake is as important as as a Davy Backfight, as being #1 swordsman, because for being #1 swordsman, you have to blacken your blade, and Zoro seems to be having more and more connection with certain blades like Enma. Talk to them like the real people. So what happens when you have a lot of people striving for that position? So like you could say that it's a means also like to be like to not forget the old ways, also like in different ways. So. I do say like it has credence. There is something old with Bink Sake.
And what if like
I think also just
y'all could go. I'll wait.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to be real quick. I was just really quickly going to say, it's interesting. I've never thought of that before, but we've always spoken about the arts and the hypnosis and all that stuff. And to be honest, art in form like music, dance, all this stuff is probably, I don't know, but probably one of the only things that exists that's timeless. So I do think it's really interesting that like, no matter if you're in the Void Century, Age of Heavens, Age of the Sea Suck or whatever, if you play music, it's music, right? Technology will always be different. The people there will be different. The powers will be different, but music will always be the same. And art will always be the same. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it could connect to the past, like the souls can reconnect. The souls from the past can reconnect from Bink Sake, and that could actually be a power source too. Like everyone's soul. Everything in the world has a soul, like living, non-living. They all have they all have that, all from Mother Nature. And yeah, that could be
I thought. I thought. Sorry, there might be a bit of lag. I think.
Yeah, yeah, you're all right. In Shinto belief, it is that yes, everything does have a soul, but it's been said in One Piece that only living things have a voice. But like at that same time, Zoro was able to hear the
all
voice.
things have the breath.
Yeah, it's but
Yeah,
there's contextual leeway, like between that. But just to real quick, also feed into 2 points of the whole.
I mean,
The music as a bridge kind of thing. And I don't want to give too much away for Film Red for those who haven't seen it yet, but obviously we're given, precedents in there that, music can potentially take you to like a whole nother alternate reality and things like that. And then like in Skypiea, Shandians had the belief that the music was what guided the souls of their ancestors into the trees. And so like that could be again like potentially a way of expediting the afterlife, or maybe even circumventing the afterlife, which is pretty interesting. A way of like keeping them here. So like that could be like Brook is like he's being kept here by the music that's in his soul.
He could guide everyone's soul into punk records with his music. They all follow it. They follow the tune. But yeah, I really find that interesting, the whole punk records thing, and I hope we find out more about it, because Vegapunk just barely teased it for like one chapter.
Well, I mean, it even sounds like music. It sounds like a record company, like a.
And I'm gonna jump in.
Oh, go on.
No, just to add on, because you talked about other fruits of music with One Piece Red. Don't forget what Yola said about her art fruit. Anyone hit by her thing becomes useless and is immortalized in her art, which is interesting, the phrasing of it.
And even more so, Brook was the guy who broke that with his Riz. Like,
yeah.
There's a couple of things I was going to say, one about for earlier and one just for now. But like basically, the first thing I'll say on this was like the Zunisha thing in Wano 1044 and all that stuff. Like that's pretty explicit, She Zunisha heard the drums of Liberation for a Heartbeat, and in the SBS we got the X-ray of the person, and like we saw that the heart is a drum, the genitals is like a triangle, either pointing upwards, downwards, blah blah blah. And then the other thing I was going to. It was a poo, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was showing which parts of his body were what instruments.
Exactly right, which is, and now we know that the heart is a drum, and we know that them instruments are symbolic for the parts of the body, right? And but the other thing I was going to say, just pulling it back a bit to what Andy was saying, like this has probably got to be one of the biggest topics in the community that has baffled me. When I read the chapter with Vegapunk and he explained, I personally just thought that was it. That was Oda suggesting pretty strongly that like the power source he's talking about is will, is the voice of all things, like is what we call God, or like the Force if you're a Jedi, right? Oh shit, I got to mute up. So it's crazy. I find it amazing that like so many people talk about it and debate it, because I just totally expected that to just be will.
Yeah, well, yeah, like everything could have will. Like I was saying, like you were saying how it just depends. It really like it's they have a sound, or they don't have or not everything has a soul, but they have a voice. Everything has a voice. I guess he just goes more into detail, like where you're gonna get this will from. And then Vegapunk says everything has energy. Nobody sees it. They're blind. Like they can't see the energy around them. Like it's all there. Everything has a will. Like the will of the souls that go into the trees. It's infinite. Like when somebody dies, like even like what Roger said, I am not gonna die. Like it's an infinite loop. Like their soul gets, unless you're forgotten, I guess then. But it's you're in this infinite cycle, like the whole life and death, the like Like yeah, you decompose, you come back as like grass and stuff. You die in the ground, they bury you, you come back as grass, you come back as a devil fruit, you come back as a tree, and then yeah, you can inherit somebody can inherit your will if they eat the fruit that you had or
I
something.
think it's so funny that you're bringing that up because people in the chat talking about Zoro as a plant right now. I don't know if you were seeing that or if that was just the vibes you were picking up, but that's so funny. Like,
I completely agree. Like I've got a vid on the subject, but the angle I took just for the sake of the video was like that inherited will is probably kind of like a curse. Like these guys probably cannot have this curse lifted until the failsafe at Laugh-Tale's activated and the world's flipped back upside down. So I agree that like these wills probably are inherited permanently, like just continuously, kind of like Buddhists believe in real life reincarnation, or just Tesla believed with energy and light. But it's almost like inherited will is like something that's tighter than that. That's like, as I say, like almost a curse. They cannot break it until they complete the mission. Joy all the will of D.
yeah, and I mean to add to that, it kind of brings us back into the final impromptu 30-second theory that me and Andy were spitting. The one that I brought up is that devil fruits are like a stasis or like possibly a prison or a way of gatekeeping the afterlife. You're saying like people are kind of like unable to proceed because they're stuck in this loop until a certain condition has been met. So again, that also ties back to the Zoro agenda where maybe a deal was struck up with the Grim Reaper. Like so I mean, like, yeah, I think that this is a crazy way of just kind of tying the two series together.
I like how you said, yeah, they're a prison devil fruits. I think I had thought of I had briefly mentioned in my recent video about how Emu yeah, I don't think Emu has a devil fruit also, but I think Emu is able to use the powers of a devil fruit, but the only way Emu can do that is if the devil fruit has not been eaten yet, because their soul is still trapped in the devil fruit. But when somebody eats the devil fruit, they gain that power, and then Emu doesn't have access to it anymore. Like an example was these two events happened at the same time. I'm not sure the specifics. Is Conjuro, he has that paintbrush ability where you could use ink, and he died during Wano. Well, apparently he's dead, and at the same time the reverie is taking place. You get where I'm going with that? What if Emu was able to access that power because the fruit was available again? It had formed.
Well, then even more to add to that, which is crazy, is that we see Gecko Moria get. Well, he's not dead, but potentially the fruit could have been. The power could have been maybe taken from him because we still don't know how Blackbeard takes these powers and if somebody has to legitimately die, and he could have actually died as well beyond that. In the Hachinosu like little bit that we haven't seen yet, and like maybe because we didn't see him whenever Kobe was running around, and we did see that Perona was like, "You got to help me free Moria." So like he might be dead.
Yeah, Kobe couldn't find him. Yeah, it seems
in
like,
which case the arrow thing that we saw from Emu and whatnot, which has a striking resemblance to the Kage no Mi, hit the shadow fruit. So that could be like an amalgamation of like two different fruit powers that have now been added back into the god pool. You know what I mean? Like if it were like fragmented like little tiny like facets of the full god abilities, and that's why Mother Nature hates it, is because it's supposed to be hers.
Yeah. Right. Another thing is what were you gonna say, Cube?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in because I do like what you guys are saying, but the thing I would to add on is more like, I think that statement of Shanks about the Sea Devil, all the fruit or incarnation of the Sea Devil, I do feel like there's something about Emu, like whatever that ability is. That's what I like about what you guys are saying is there's this weird connection, because they could explain how maybe certain devil, like we saw with Sabo, it seems that Emu naturally, like it could be a thing that she has like satellites. The satellites have to connect with Vegapunk once a day. So it could be a thing that it's between, like maybe if a fruit's not used, she's able to use it. And she's also able to sense it, like to know when a fruit is, available or not. Like a sixth sense, because she has a hand to it,
Yeah, and another than my tinfoil theory is is right after Luffy ate that fruit in chapter 1, the next panel we see is him walking down a trail, and we see a cow go moo, for emu moo. Could be Oda telling us. But another thing, I saw Party Preet bring up the Akashic records. I don't know if he was mentioning my video, but I bring up the Akashic records in my recent emu video, and I had never seen anything about it online related to One Piece, but yeah, it's pretty much this other realm where you could pretty much access records from 2,000 years ago to yesterday, like whichever, like everybody, you pretty much send your soul there, and in order to do that, you have to go into prayer. But I don't think that going into prayer sounds kind of weird in the world of One Piece, and I don't think this is real in the real. Yeah, and I think in order to access that, in order to get into that spiritual sense, is with Brook, is in song. Everybody, he could put them in a trance or something, and then that's how you could access the Akashic records.
That's pretty wild. More to add into the more parallels with the Kage fruit as well, as we see that like Luffy's able to have like 100 different shadows crammed into him to get to Shadow Luffy, and like he just with one shadow, he was able to pick up sword trained techniques and things like that, and things that like so like this could be like the more of the devil fruits that die, like yeah, like the more like different, like it could be that like potentially Emu consumed the souls of like all of these people, and maybe the entire ancient race, and those souls are now being put into, and maybe not as a prison, but like as like a holding cell or like a safeguard from Emu even, that they're being put and held into the devil fruits. And devil fruit reincarnation is like something that happens to help them escape from Emu, like you were saying, like it's all like parts of the same like whole. And Emu might have all of these abilities. Like that's just like another parallel, I think, with the Kage fruit that we saw Moria using, is that like these could also contribute to Emu's personality. And so maybe Emu without a whole bunch of these is childish, and it's like they only feel like they're fully complete if they have all of these added on wills, like amalgam together, right?
I just thought of something. Let's say we're right about the whole Emu thing, like she can access it. With that logic, there's one person who would make sense all of his action. Blackbeard. What has he been doing for 2 years? Hunting down the Elford users. So it is true that there might be something like he knows something about, like if Emu's whole thing is to make sure people don't eat those fruits, right? What is Blackbeard doing? The opposite. He's going after the Elford users to feed it to his crew. So it's a food for thought that's interesting.
I've been cooking on this thought for a little over a month, and I know I've shared it with Cube. I think I might have shared it also with Hyde. And I think Vex might have heard it once or twice. But what is a common occurrence with every single devil fruit that we've seen?
They all taste disgusting.
That is one of them. That's not the one I'm going for, but yes, that is a very true fact.
What is they're all fruit, Alex?
They all have squirrels.
Yeah.
They do have squirrels. Yeah, that's true. You did bring this up to me, and it blew my mind.
With, I think it was Miss Golden Week, the little painter girl from Baroque Works.
Correct.
The majority of her paintings involved swirls, and they were used to suppress a will. So I think that the devil fruits all have swirls to hold in the original will of the progenitor of the fruit. So like the source code of the fruit.
Like the DNA code, the DNA strand has a swirl too.
Well, like
yeah, because like I'm on the mind
swirls.
Like Dire Regulus has there was no devil fruit tree. The people were the devil fruits, and that perfectly ties in with what we've seen in the story, where you can have someone who hasn't eaten a devil fruit, but they have these weird abilities. One I always love bringing up, because why the fuck would this be an ability if not in One Piece? Polly, he can make ropes for nothing.
That is true. What is up with that? And what about that guy with the hair? Did he have a devil fruit? The other shipwright that
Kumadori. You're talking about
no. Well, that guy. No, I meant the shipwright, the one that looked like Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, I know.
Was
what
that
you're
a-
talking
was that
about,
a
where the
devil
dude
fruit?
pushed up his hair. I don't know, but it would be weird.
Same thing with the chef on the train that used noodles. It's a
Juanzi.
weird ability that they have.
Yeah, put some respect on Juanzi's name. But no, I think that
Yeah.
that is, it could be partially imbuement, like how like Kuja are able to imbue hockey into their ammo and send it out as a projectile, and swordsmen are able to imbue hockey into their blades as if it were an extension of themselves. Because like Polly has to be touching like some, he doesn't just, he has ropes on his person. He can then use his body to manipulate those ropes, and maybe even like, I don't know, like some Choji caloric like thing where he changes his like body part into part ropes or something. I don't know if there's like some part 7 of JoJo's reference, but specifically with Wanzi, he has to eat these ingredients, and then he can produce the noodles that he can manipulate with his ramen kempo. So it's like, I think this is like a, and Kumadori was able to manipulate his hair. Even Fukurokuju, yeah, Fukurokuju can mess with his earlobes and do some weird game shit with that. Like, so I mean, like, there's a lot of it's Life Return. Yeah, it's like
But you remember what Commodore said about Life Return? The way he described it? It is literally
so
what
I've read
Kaido.
multiple translations of it to find out his exact wording.
Yeah, basically, if you take what he said, Kumadori, is literally Kaido explaining awakening to Luffy. Is when your body and mind connect together. And there is something weird about it that seems to... And we also get in that arc, the secret technique of Urokoshiki that does internal damage, Ryokugan, which, you know, very similar to Ryo in Wano. So I do feel like all of that is... There is something that you're such a master of your craft that literally, so your body and your mind is so intertwined. So basically, it's like an extension to your body, like how they do with swords. You know, they talk swords to be an extension of your body as well.
Reminds me of Nen from Hunter x Hunter. Like you have to
Exactly.
like with the bungee gum and then with the chains with Kurapika.
Yep.
You gotta live, breathe, and eat that object that you like a lot. Like
Yeah.
Well, there is a specific facet of Nen that is putting something into, like, it's not Gyo, but it's like an extended form of Gyo that uses Gyo and Hatsu. I forget what it's called, but like yeah, like it's you specifically put
Isn't
your Nen into like a thing that is not your body, but you can like, and so it's like, even if you're not an emitter, you can put your Nen into a thing that's outside of your body and then send that out as like a projectile of some sort, or use it as a weapon. It's Shu. It's called Shu.
Shu. Okay.
Yeah, but it works the same essentially as imbuement, correct?
Exactly. So like that's how like Goto is able to like use his coins to just do like some crazy Katakuri jelly bean nonsense, and then like Hisoka is able to use simple playing cards. They're not like modified playing cards with like blade edges or like made of solid steel. They're literally just playing cards. But through that, he's able to weaponize them with what is basically the equivalent of like hockey imbuement in that universe. Yeah.
Another thing, since we're talking about Hunter x Hunter, is the post-mortem Nen. What you
No spoilers for people who aren't all the way there.
I'm just gonna say it's pretty much what it is you get your Nen increases after death. That's all I'm gonna say. And
like in a way, yeah.
And then like that happens in One Piece. You could say with Brook was with Zoro, they got stronger after facing death. They came back and their hockey got stronger, their soul got stronger. They were able to cheat death. You got to cheat death.
No, I like that a lot. I could talk Hunter x Hunter for days.
I've been holding that in for a while. I've been wanting to say that for a good while already during the stream.
No, we've cooked on this for a fat minute, and like I really do like that we were able to tie in the devil fruit thing that I spat just like off the dome yesterday, and then also with the Zoro thing with 1064 recently dropping, and with where we are with the anime, that whole Grim Reaper topic it's been on my mind for over a year and a half, like almost since we got it in panels. But it's just like I was hoping that I would get more answers in the anime, and I didn't, but it was still dope, and it was one of my favorite. It was one of the coldest scenes in the anime I think that we've seen so far. It was so good. But us being able to kind of like tie that, together is really solid. Is there anything else anyone wants to add on this line, or we can pick up on some of the things that the chat's been talking about?
Do you guys think there's a connection between what do you think influences the sword more, the blacksmith or the wielder?
Ooh.
I think it's and I mean, I don't want to get too much into Demon Slayer or anything, but I think it's a balance. If you've seen the Swordsmith arc or read it and everything like that, I think that there's an argument that it's leaning, one way where it's more on the blacksmith, and then an argument that it's leaning more on the wielder. I think it's about the two being in conjunction.
Yeah. I think when you're making the sword, in order to I guess enhance it or give it meaning, give it anything, to wake it up, you have to put a part of, while you're making it, you put a part of your soul into it, and that makes it its own thing. And then that's where the whole, if it's cursed or not or whatever,
that comes into play. But we also hear one of the first things that Zoro says about like Bushido style is that it's not about like the quality of the sword, it's about the swordsman. And like specifically with Mihawk saying like I won't use this on a wild rabbit or something like that, and he pulls out a knife, like a little butter knife. Yes, obviously I think that there is definitely merit, especially now more than ever, that we've gotten what we got from Wano, and we've learned about the Kitetsu clan of blacksmiths and Tenguyama's real identity and things like that. That yes, there's an importance between the blacksmith, but we can't forget some of the first bits of information that we got from Zoro, who learned that from Kozuburo, didn't he? At least partly, is that it's specifically not about the sword, it's about the swordsman. I think that's not fully correct, but I don't want to lean too heavy on the blacksmith agenda. I think it's a healthy 50-50,
Well,
I would say.
Also, I think just a lot of
Kozuburo stated, Kozuburo stated that there's no such thing as a cursed blade, which I think is pretty interesting.
another thing, like with what we were talking about earlier about how not everything might have everything in the world that's non-living might not have a soul, but it has a voice or a sound. What if when a person, like I had made a video about it in my nature video, like anything like that's created by man, because man has soul and they want to make art, and when they make it becomes art is when they put their soul into something. Like when you're building a ship, when the ship is made, now it has a soul because the person building it put their soul into it while making it. Same thing with swords, same thing with guns, same thing, anything made by man. It's the combination,
anything like that.
Yeah, anything when you combine both something from Mother Nature, from nature, and then from something from like living, like with the soul, and then it has a soul.
I agree with Vex.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. It's for me. It is a balance, but it's more than that. And I always give this. The best example is we could debate about that. I still believe Sabo was a better user of the mirrors than Ace, but we could also say that Ace was a good user of his fruit. Right? They have a thing in common. Both of them grew up, or at least interacted a lot with the user of the Gomu. Then you have Barto's fruit or Mr. Chu's fruit, where we've seen in the past both fruits interact with one another. I think there's something about a connection, and I do think first, same thing with swords. There's a connection between the will of the sword, the one who made the sword. There must be some sort of connection, something it's compatible. And if you don't have that, that's what makes it. It's basically if you prefer a triangle.
There might be a lock and key system, like a certain will fully unlock the blade.
You would say then, with when Usopp was fixing the going Mary in Skypiea, that's why he was able to see the Clobotoman, because he was putting some of his soul, and his soul was connected to the will of the going Mary.
I like that a lot.
Can I just jump on that real quick? It's just because it's related. Vex was saying the other day about visuals, like about how the audience view the manga or the anime, and how that sort of can portray Luffy's vision, and then some people like believe that like observation haki, for example, you're not actually seeing anything like we see. It doesn't actually show. It's just they can sense it. So yeah, I think. Sorry, I totally forgot what I was saying. You was Karen.
No, yeah, I get it. It's like it's more than just a creative, like a stylistic choice or a creative liberty, which some people are saying about the auras in One Piece right now.
Oh yeah, and then like with the Klabauterman, it's the same, right? It's potentially the same. Like just because Usopp could see it doesn't mean everyone else in the town could see it.
Exactly. It's like it's a way for them to represent what might be unseeable actually, just so us as an audience can get the better picture and digest it through the eyes of the actual character that, you know, we're seeing through the lens of right now. And so we were seeing through Usopp's lens at that point, whereas a lot of the other times we see through Luffy's lens and things like that, except for right now in the manga, which is crazy. But to pick up on what Pete was saying in the chat real quick, because like we were still on that sword for like swordsman versus blacksmith agendas. He's totally right that the grade of the weapon absolutely matters. Otherwise, we wouldn't be getting supreme grade like supreme grade like the Owazamono and Saiji Wazamono and all those different like. But what I think is something that feeds into the whole like lock and key combination that you guys were talking about is specifically we don't know what grade Griffin is. We just know that it's a Meito blade. But
Also, I just had something. Sorry to jump in, but I just had this crazy thing, and it sounds crazy, but I'll say this. You know, we all assume like every sword has the grade it was made of, right? It's at the thing. But what if for some swords, like for that good, like for some of them, the swords age like fine wine. Like some swords just get better across the year with the wills, better quality.
So
not all of them. Just
yeah, the Meito is actually decided based off of the blacksmith, not the sword itself. And that's like if you check out the wiki, it says that. And so certain like there's like clans of like legendary blacksmiths, and the better the blacksmith that makes the sword, the better the quality of the sword is. So the 12 supreme swords were like the mastercraft work of legendary blacksmiths. Whereas just the normal grade, Meitos and things like that, like the lowest of they're still top tier, but they're like at the bottom of the top tier, right? Those were just like the average works of these legendary caliber of blacksmiths and things like that.
What if it's a top tier made blade, but at the same time, it just seen so much battle through the years? Like, I guess an example is Shisui. The only reason why I was able to turn black was like after Ryuma just through years of experience. That's how I'd always taken it.
Yeah, but to get back to the point that I was bringing up, and it kind of goes in with that as well, is that like it can be a top tier grade blade like Yoru. Yoru is a supreme grade blade that is either permanently blacked or Mihawk paints his blade, which is something I saw someone say in chat the other day, and I thought it was hilarious. I think during the OPU stream, that crossover. Shout out to the TLA and OPU crossover stream. It was goated. Everyone go check that out as well. But if it's a supreme grade blade that has been permanently blacked out, there is no way that Griffin, even if it's a normal supreme grade blade, should be able to keep up if it's just blacksmith versus blacksmith. Like it's clearly the wielder itself has to be important in this as well. It's not just about the quality of the sword, but it's about the quality of the wielder. And so, I mean, I obviously think that Shanks is superior in probably all forms of haki than Mihawk, but that's just my headcanon. But it has been confirmed by Oda himself that Mihawk is the superior swordsman. And so it's really up to us to decide what we want that to mean for us, because we don't have much more to go off of outside of the fact that they both walked away alive, presumably with no scars given from each other, because we only see one scar on Shanks and we know where that came from, and we don't see any scars visible on Mihawk's body. So if they had these legendary duels, like go ahead.
I didn't actually get to finish here what you were saying. Is Keep still here?
He
yeah, I'm here. Yeah. What did you say? Sorry.
I said I never actually finished hearing what you were saying.
Yeah, so I was just saying that what if for some sword, like they had a good, a blacksmith, like the sword has a good grade, but because of the swordsman is so compatible that let's say the Yoru, the reason why it's so, let's say back in the day, is that there was something that changed during that first usage, or something like that. Like we know that with Enma, even though Kaido, Odin never blackened it, Kaido felt like he sensed Enma, Odin in that thing, and not Enma. Like there was something connected between them. Like they were one aura, and he resensed the Odin aura of 20 years ago. So I'm wondering if for some blades, the compatibility is so strong that it has a positive change. That was the idea. But for me, it's like 1 in 100 blades. It's not like, it's a current thing. You have to be very unique. That was the whole idea.
Another interesting thing is, what if, like, an example is Funkfried, I think that's its name, the elephant sword.
The elephant.
What if it's like, a black blade, but it has a devil fruit in it or something? That would be lit. Like, you get to combine like, what if you put it underwater? Like, I don't know. That's like the only one we've seen that's like that, I think. A sword that has a devil fruit in it.
Yeah, we've only seen 3 devil fruit objects in canon.
Yeah.
Which is the Tanuki teapot, Funkfried, which is an elephant sword, and then the dog gun, which I forgot its name off the top of my head, but it exists.
I wanted to talk about that elephant, Funkfried, a bit. Let me ask you guys a question, right? If every weapon crafted by the blacksmith is crafted with the intent, similar to what Kozaburo said, like every blacksmith crafts a sword with a certain intent that they want the sword to bring forth in the world, right? And every sword wants to cut down as much people as possible during its existence. If that is the case, right? Do you think as a sword infused with a devil fruit that does not have a similar will to it can awaken? Because technically that sword has its own will, and that is to cut down as many people as possible. What if you're infused with a peace-loving animal? Does that animal never awaken? Like, does that just not happen? Can that sword become a black blade? And if it does become a black blade, how does that affect the fruit will, or the fruit inside the sword?
I don't think that the wills are stagnant. Like, so, I mean, that's a good point, but I think that a part of awakening, it's not just the user specifically changing their mind or the fruit specifically changing its mind. I think it's about a compromise of a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So I think it might be a little bit more difficult depending on how the sword was made, because we don't know for sure if all swords are just bloodthirsty from the get-go. Like, it could be like maybe the sword wants to be like a shield, or I don't know what they identify as, but like like if it wanted to just protect instead of slay. But like whatever the will of the sword is and whatever the will of the fruit is, because we assume that each fruit might have a different type of will of its own based off of what we heard, especially about Zoans, we know that. But I think it's about, again, like a 50-50, like finding a meet in the middle.
Yeah, I think it all depends on the not the user, the wielder of the sword. The wielder will have to create a balance between the soul of the sword and the soul of the fruit, and a way to achieve both what they're looking for. Like if it's a pacifist fruit and a bloodthirsty sword, maybe the only way to achieve peace is through murder or something like that. You get the best of both.
Yeah, and there's been some Griffin theories about Shanks's blade since we saw it get erupted in flame, and like, is that Haki, or does he have like some other sort of devil fruit inside of his sword, which I think would be weird. But I mean, I'm open to it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm open to anything at this point. One Piece is so wacky,
Here's how I feel about elemental use when it comes to martial arts and swordsmanship. We see Firefox style generate fire. It's not that it only causes fire. It legitimately generates fire. Brook generates ice. Legitimately generates ice. Zoro conjures wind. No, he doesn't just draw wind to his sword. Sometimes he legitimately conjures wind with his sword.
Yeah,
If
he
you
made
ask me,
tornadoes.
yeah.
So to go in with like
If you ask me, all of this stuff says a lot to me that you can. Oh, see, I don't want to go on this whole tirade thinking about elemental hockey. I don't just to be clear here. I'm not saying this is elemental hockey, but I think there is something about the way martial arts is done, specifically in a certain way. It wouldn't be a technique that does this. Like example, Firefox style is a specific sword style that conjures fire. Like Zoro had no idea how to do that until he learned that specific fighting style. So it's not a matter of just like a will, if that makes sense. It's like a language that you speak with the swords, if that makes sense. Like fisherman karate is like an innate thing they can do, right? That's true. But there's probably a lot of it that's connected to how their martial arts works fundamentally. That's what I think. Maybe, tell me what you guys think. There's probably more to it than that.
Yeah, to feed into the Foxfire agenda is that like also Hyoguro has his own style, which I don't think is shown in the anime, but it's shown in the panels if you check it out, and it's on the wiki. It's called like Itoryu no Hana, or like the flowers, like flame flower stuff. But it's another Wano technique of swordsmanship that does conjure fire. And so, like, knowing that Kishimoto, the author and mangaka of Naruto, is like a close friend, and he helped work on Dressrosa with Oda specifically when he was in the hospital and things like that. This could be like Wano could have like, and it's tied to Japan, with its like influence and whatnot. It could be a representation of like the will of fire, or like fire hockey. Which again, I don't want to go into the whole elemental hockey agenda or anything like that, but it could make sense because like the Ryugu Kingdom and like Fishmen and Merfolk, we see specifically using water techniques and things like that.
I like.
Then we see people from Wano using fire.
There is a part of it where like technically Wano has the ability to create ninjutsu that just are not double fruit abilities. It's just straight up ninjutsu. I don't know how many of them are like accurately portrayed as just being solely ninjutsu, but there are a few. Like what was it? The paralysis jutsu. That's a legitimate thing that happened. They could not move because they were using some form of technique based on hand signs. So like particular movements of their body enforces some kind of action around the world. So, and it's not just that. Like, how much of what Raizo does isn't also included in that, and it's just him fusing his ninjutsu with his devil fruit. So that's kind of what I look at it too. Like maybe there's some kind of movement specifications that does unlock this stuff. It's not really just about like hockey or will, but there's a language out there.
Yeah, I love how you bring up the language. What if it's tied to the voice of all things? Like people that possess that are able to understand this language, and they're able to speak it or understand it and use it to their advantage. Like we've gotten hints that Zoro might be able to understand that when he fought Mr. One, and I was just thinking Raizo has those scrolls where he writes. Maybe that could be connected to how Miss Golden Week does her painting powers, because they both use like, I guess you could say, like paint and ink.
For me, it's a mix between, we do talk elemental hockey, but they don't people talk that much about matter itself, like how hockey interacts with matter itself, the fourth state of matter, or maybe there's a fifth one in the world, the One Piece wave or anything, because if you think about it, there's a Logia that's literally not an element, but a state of matter itself, the Gazu no Mi. And he can also, with a specific weapon, Caesar Clown was able to create plasma. So I do feel like, and if you remember Rayleigh's definition of how you could touch a Logia user, you can solidify the liquid inside their body. So I think there is this in between, there's this highway where hockey connects all of those different things. And I'm going to plug one of idea of, Andy Lex brought up, the balance. There's a balance in everything. And if you could find that balance, you can maybe reproduce it. So I do feel like there is something.
To go back to what Ragnar was saying about like maybe hand signs, and like I said, Kishimoto and Oda are tight, and we see hand signs in Naruto, which is a way of channeling your chakra and things like that, and accomplishing more unique techniques or jutsu. But also, like to bring it back to the Soul Resonance and thing, like Fire Force, which is by the same author as like a Soul Eater. Shinra has to specifically use one specific hand sign in order to channel his like capabilities to their maximum. Like, so I think that could also feed into like the hand sign thing you were talking about. Like that's crazy. I didn't really think of that until just now. So that's wild.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the hand signs. That is true though. That's a thing in the world of One Piece.
I honestly thought when Fukurokuju and Raizo were like doing the like paralysis jutsu, I literally just thought they were having like a staring contest. Like I was like neither of these guys is actually paralyzed, but just like they're just like playing along. Like I don't know, and see, it's like a game of chicken, you know. Like that's what I thought it was. Like
ninjas are fake.
I literally thought it was fake until like they actually added like sound effects and whatnot in the anime. But when I was reading the panels, I was just like, "What are these two do? What are they doing?" Like, like
They're just standing there menacingly.
oh my god! Shout out to Crow, Majin Crow, blessing us with one of his accounts. If you could hop in and with the other 9 accounts and like the stream, we'd really appreciate that. Shout out to OPU, One Piece University, as well, who had a really good stream yesterday.
Sergeant Crow brought up a great point. Have you guys pushed the Green Bull agenda today? I got you with that, my boy. All right, so think about it this way, right? What did we see Shinobu look like after Green Bull touched her, right? She turned sexy like, right? She lost all of her bad qualities and went into a newer body. Edward Weevil got captured by Green Bull.
Oh no. Oh no.
All I gotta say is Weevil's gonna come back looking like a peak young white beard. And nobody's ready for it.
Queen got like skinnied up too. So remember his catchphrase, if he were any skinnier, we like him too much. So
exactly.
He's about to be a force to be reckoned with if he comes back into the
But Rice didn't get skinny after Green Bull.
That's the Queen was honestly my favorite character in the Beast Pirate, so I'm all for a Queen. I don't need a redemption arc for this man, but coming back into the fold.
Bro, I loved his dance routine.
Yeah, dude. There's this chick on YouTube who did a cover of that song, and it's fire. Y'all should all look it up. Zumu, 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 zumu. What's good, Pete?
Bro, Time Lord.
Welcome to
Time
the
Lord.
Off. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you, guys?
I know you got plenty of Zoro theories. I seen you in the chat. You want to elaborate on anything we've been talking about?
Well, I'm just generally a Zoro fan, even though I don't have that many theories about him. But I guess we were talking about Black Blades earlier, and Kev was kind of mentioning some things. But my perception of Black Blades is, while it can like increase the quote unquote rank of the sword, I think blades that are blackened are generally already high quality swords, as far as at least what we've seen so far, with permanently blackening. And so I think the blackening of the blade is really just kind of like I mentioned in chat. It's a mark that the swordsman and the sword have both kind of reached their pinnacle together. That's why we see Ryuma has a black blade, but Oda didn't blacken either of his blades, because he was an accomplished swordsman, but he wasn't. He didn't necessarily reach the maximum of his potential. And you could say the same thing about Enma, as far as his swords go. So that's why I think you can see a black blade that's maybe not the same grade as Whitebeard's grade, like a supreme grade blade or something like that. So I don't think it necessarily adds any strength to it. It's more just a symbol that they've both reached their peak, whatever that may be.
I think that it goes hand in hand with inherited will. Like if the sword has fully inherited the will of the user, like kind of like how you're saying if they're aligned like that, and if they've reached like a like how Andy Lex was saying as well earlier, like soul resonance. Like I think that Shusui specifically, or Shisui, sorry, it's not Shusui, that's a different anime, but Shisui specifically as a sword 400 plus years later is still blacked off of the inherited will potentially of Ryuma, who was, and it might have something to do with like conquerors even, but I don't know because I don't know if I want to be on that Mihawk as a conqueror, and he has a permanently black blade. But there's only 2 permanent black blades in the entire series. And yeah, like you're saying, like Whitebeard is like this. He was given the title as the man closest to One Piece and like the strongest man in the world. And somehow his Murako Magiri was not a permanently black blade. But it also wasn't his predominant weapon. Dude would just punch the crap out of people and use his devil fruit at the same time. So I don't know. But
right, well, that's why I think it's tied more to proficiency in terms of swordsmanship. Like I said, Whitebeard's a great example. He's not lacking in any way in terms of hockey. You know, he's just generally strong. And like you said, even though he has the blade, it's not necessarily his main weapon, but it's still a supreme grade blade. But we don't see it blackened. Or even if you look at Shanks, at least from what we know, Shanks is as strong as they make him. But from what we understand about Griffin, it's not a black blade, and that's not to say that Shanks isn't strong or Shanks isn't stronger than Mihawk or whatever it may be. It's that their understanding of swordsmanship and their affinity with their blade are at different levels. And so I think, and that's where the distinction comes, where Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman, while Shanks is just, one of the world's strongest. And so that, like I said, that's why I think it ties less into hockey. Because I think there's a prerequisite level of strength you need just to blacken your blade, but I think what actually allows that to happen is kind of like just like a synergy between the understanding you have of swordsmanship and a sword whose quote unquote ego or will or whatever is matching up with that.
I actually think hockey might be involved too. What, like, you can see it as like how you're all explaining it. I was just thinking of like stats, like in a game. Like Kaido, for an example, he didn't have his like stats maxed out for his devil fruit powers, but they were like pretty high for hockey, and Luffy had more of a balance between both. And you could say the same thing with swordsmen, and then their hockey, like some might have better sword skill. Like I guess Shanks, his hockey stats are higher versus his sword stats, but Mihawk's got those sword stats maxed out. And I guess you could say Zoro is like Luffy, another great balance between the sword and the will, the hockey.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying, but I think that kind of leans to the point. Like, and that's why you see Mihawk with a black blade and not Shanks. Because from what we've seen, if hockey was involved, or if hockey was all it took, in terms of making a blade black, then Whitebeard would have one, Shanks would have one, because they, for all we understand, have more than enough hockey to accomplish those things. I don't even, at least as far as what we know, I don't even think Roger had a black blade either.
Well, like,
and
no,
so,
like, I think, like, yeah, like, it's, the same thing could be said about, like, but I was saying about the stats thing, like, yeah, you don't need to have, it doesn't mean, like, if you have one maxed out, it doesn't mean you have to have a black blade. Like, it's just, I guess, a balance of both. If you're able to, it all depends on how well you utilize your sword and how close you are to it with its will and I guess the experience you have with make that makes it turn black. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, I said what I need to say. But I see what Kev is saying in the chat about blackening the blade, increasing its rank. But at least from what we understand, that rank could be partly due to prestige, like bounties. Like some of the supreme grade blades that we've seen haven't done anything particularly impressive, but they're always carried by ridiculously strong people. So even though blackening the blade increases the rank, I don't think it necessarily makes the blade itself stronger within itself.
I definitely think you're both right. Like it does absolutely, like we've heard in canon that it does increase the rank, but like you're saying that a higher rank is not a clear grounds to power scale off of. Um, yeah, I definitely agree on both accounts there.
Look at an example is Luffy. Luffy had the other sword Odin was wielding in the early Wano, and he couldn't do anything with it. He was just like trolling, using the sword but hitting with his fist.
That wasn't
using it like a spear.
Habakiri, was it?
Yeah,
I
it
thought
was that
a
one.
different sword.
Yeah.
Not
But
just
yeah.
that one, but actually, what if it's also a thing? It sounds crazy, a crackhead thought, but what if it's the same thing of what they say about certain death, like Nika, about desire? Like maybe some blades, they have that is how the narrative is about them, the lore, the story is how you see them. Like maybe Yoru is the number one blade, but one of the things that helps it to become number one blade is everyone views it as the number one blade. You see what I mean? Like there is something like believing that it's number one blade does give some more power to it,
Yeah.
Like what they say, it's like when you're scared of something, even though you can beat up the guy, if you're scared of that and he's not scared of you, you're gonna lose that fight.
Yeah, it's
Most of the
like
time.
with Big Mom, with like it goes with like Big Mom's powers and the whole
Exactly,
thing.
fear.
If you forget about someone, like they're surely dead. Like, yeah, it could be with
Yeah.
it could add something with the power of the blade too. Like maybe any blade could be like Yoru if everyone believed. Like when you become the strongest swordsman, then your blade is considered the strongest sword, and yeah, it'll take the title. And Yoru won't be like that. The only reason why Yoru is considered that, is because that was
And
the title.
didn't that happen to Kaido when he sensed Odin, and before when Big Mom told him be careful that blade has something behind it, and at that moment he showed fear. Not real fear, but he was hesitant and he wanted to avoid it. Like you saw in his face there was something, and then he saw Odin through well, that was in the anime. I don't remember in the manga if it was also. I think so too.
Yeah, it was in the
But
manga
yeah,
too. Yeah.
so it could be. Yeah, so there could be something to it.
So I definitely do want to bring this up because there are 12 supreme grade blades in existence, and we only have confirmed info on 4 of them,
Very true.
which is the Yoru, the Muro Kurumagiri, which is Whitebeard's blade, and Ace, as well as the Shodai Katetsu.
All right. How many? You said there's 12. And we've just
Yes,
seen
there's
4?
12 supreme grade blades.
And how many Holy Knights are there? It's 9 or 7?
At least 9.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's 8 There's 8 Supreme Grade blades. Supreme Grade blades left. So maybe some of them are with the Holy Knights, or maybe one of them has them. Like I'm sure there's a fairly even distribution amongst characters in the One Piece world. But I think if we're looking at potential parties that may have them, even Garland, having one, I think could definitely be possible.
This is my agenda, and I'm sticking to it until I'm proven wrong. Helmeppo's 2 Kukuri blades are both supreme grade. They're supreme grade. I'm just saying it right now.
Yo, I'm down. I'm
Wait,
down.
who? Helmeppo?
Helmeppo has his 2
Helmeppo?
Kukuri blades. Yes, I am on that agenda, and I will until I'm proven wrong.
Yo,
bro.
he's got
Helmeppo.
hell in his name. Come on.
Him, Leppo, bro. Like, he's him. Dude.
Nah.
We don't know the grade of Shiki's 2 blades that he stuck to his legs.
That's true. We also don't know Griffin's grade, so they could also all be supreme. So it's 3 more that could be supreme, but we don't know.
Another thing
And
that I've
Fuji's
been
blade, we don't know the name of either.
Another thing
Or
I've been
the
thinking
rank.
about is what's his name? Kaku. He fights like a swordsman with his legs and with his zone fruit, but he doesn't use a sword, right?
He
He
literally
used one
has
in,
4 sword style, but he only uses like 2 swords, I think, actually.
And in
Yeah.
Egghead, was he even using one? I don't remember. I was because he was.
I don't think he pulled one out in Egghead because I know he used the flying slash the Rankiku.
Mhm.
I think that's the right one for it.
That's the
But,
Tempest. You mean the Rokugyan?
Yeah, maybe Kaku found a way to not use a sword
Used
and
the
just.
kick to slice at the Thousand Sunny when Zoro cut it. Yeah, he didn't use a sword for that. He used his flying leg slash
Yeah,
to send at the boat.
What if Kaku found a way to like substitute swords. Like, this has been in the back of my head for a while. We've been talking, but yeah, I was just thinking about it. Like, Kaku doesn't necessarily use a sword, and he's considered like sword fighting still. That's how I see it.
It's so funny that you say that because it's in the same fight, Zoro versus Kaku at Eni's lobby, that like, Soge King is handcuffed to Zoro, and he has to wield him, and he goes like, "You're a sword now," like, and he calls him a whole different name. He calls him like Nose Storm, and like a. So like, yeah, I think like the definition of a sword could be pretty loose, especially seeing as how like Murako Magiri, which is a supreme grade blade, isn't even a sword. It is specifically a Bicento or like a pole arm, you know, like but it's not like a sword by classically defined means. You know what I mean?
All right, it's a bladed weapon, but it's not a sword.
Yeah. Which brings the question: what defines a swordsman?
A sword does. That's why no one calls Whitebeard a swordsman.
Correct. But would you call Killer a swordsman?
No,
No, I wouldn't either.
he's literally never used a sword.
He's
I'd
a
argue that
massacre soldier. He's literally called him, that's his epithet. He's a massacre soldier, but he's not called a swordsman.
Yeah, I like how
Right.
somebody brought up a weapon. Yeah, they're weapons, and you could get black grade weapons maybe. Like, look at Sabo. He's got that pipe. He's got that pipe since pre-time skip. He's got the pipe post-time skip. Got black
Right, but
grade.
that's why they say supreme grade blade and not supreme grade sword. Like when they're talking about the category within itself, because it doesn't have to be a sword. Just a bladed
Well,
weapon.
that's just the English translation. I believe it is like ken, which does mean sword,
Mm.
like in Japanese. In like I believe, I could be wrong.
I don't speak Japanese, so I don't know.
So would have Zoro been able to imbue Usopp with hockey when he was wielding? I mean, my bad. Soge, when he was wielding Sogeking as a sword, would he have been able to do that?
Yeah, we keep acting like they're the same person when clearly they're
I know.
nothing to do.
Right. The disrespect.
I know, right? Like, also, since we're on the topic, shout out to Young Usopp in the chat, and also shout out to Branks, BR, Drums of Liberation. Welcome, Goats. Make sure you like the stream. But I think that, yeah, like hockey transference. I think that, like, to bring it back to the Foxfire style, like, it specifically can heal wounds through fires and things like that, and that could just be like, oh, I'm cauterizing your cut wounds, but like, I think also part of it is that you're imbuing your hockey or life force or willpower into the form of another person, and that there's been several different forms of that as well. Like,
Ooh,
maybe
I have a question actually. So, well, first of all, do you guys think that Momo is going to learn Odin's two sword style?
I mean, he doesn't have two swords to work with. He only has the Amino Habakiri.
Well, here's the thing. There is a second sword.
Oh, Shisui.
Yeah,
He's talking about Shisui.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I was already thinking this whole time. I was like, who's gonna use that sword? The other Odin's sword.
A dragon
Yeah.
using the slaying
One of my
sword. There's
biggest
so much
gripes with
time
Wano. One of my biggest gripes with Wano is that Zoro left Shisui there, because from my perspective, none of the people on Wano deserve it. But since it's there, if someone was going to use it, it kind of has to be Momo, right? And the reason I think it would be a good fit is because it's kind of it's a national treasure. It's like a symbol of the nation itself, and Momo trying to be the person to open up the borders of Wano and kind of usher in this new era. What would be the better look than him standing at the, front of all the people in Wano holding up the national treasure saying he's about to make this massive change?
Yeah, that's great. Actually, I love that. Like, it goes like that person that was guarding the swords in Wano. I forgot their name. The one that could turn into
The fox.
the fox. Yeah, they were like, why do you? They didn't like how Zoro had it. They don't think Zoro deserved it, and maybe Zoro didn't.
Yeah.
It was just he just had it by chance. But Momo, I think Momo, he represents Wano. He's the face of Wano. He truly deserves that sword. That makes a lot of sense, I think.
And I think the other reason it works is because he still has the Ame no Habakiri. Like in terms of like gauging like like him improving as a swordsman, we still have the Ame no Habakiri that he could, turn into a black blade or, imbue his hockey like that. He could kind of have a similar relationship maybe to what Zoro has with Enma. In terms of the Ame no Habakiri, I think Shusui, like I said, would be very symbolic of Wano, and if we're doing this thing of him opening up the borders, I think that would be. I think they would respond much better to him standing in front of them as a warrior and a swordsman than a giant dragon, given past trauma.
There's also the connection of using the Dragon Slayer as a dragon.
Right. But I just thought that's why I was asking, because that's why I was asking if you guys thought Momo would learn the two sword style from, I guess, Kinemon.
Yeah, and wasn't Zoro teaching Momo some stuff also, like on the ship and like even at Wano, and Momo was using that phrase that was bad.
Because we've seen Zoro have like a kind of a good like role model type relationship with like Chopper. And kind of a little brother, older brother type thing, but the next time we really saw that was Momo. In terms of him, like kind of like having someone look up to him and kind of want to be like him. I think Momo is going to improve his swordsmanship, even if he doesn't improve his devil fruit to some crazy level. I think it would be, considering the environment that he's in, it'd be much easier to become a better swordsman than it would to be like a Kaido level devil fruit, like using Kaido's devil fruit the way Kaido did, and the amount of time that's probably going to pass between now and whenever they open the borders of Wano.
If we're theory crafting like the development, I think that for me, I mean, yeah, there's absolutely like a good, part of me that thinks that Momo is going to start wielding the Ame no Habakiri, but I don't know about the Shusui, like what Branks is saying in the chat right now, keeping it as like a symbol, which is something that in Japan, which Wano's based off of, they do have like there's a sacred blade that can't be wielded because it's not like humans aren't supposed. I don't know if that's, but they did call Ryu the sword god. Yeah. The Muramasa blade, or like it used to be called the Kusanagi or whatever, but like specifically, I think that there's also an argument that because the will of Odin is so prevalent in Yamato, that they might also pick up like if they want to, they already have like a named weapon and things like that, but like if they were to wield their weapon in one hand and the Ame no Habakiri in the other, and if Momo was going to not I don't know, like it's not like I can really speculate.
Well, I think the reason I think it fits is because like if he's to inherit a swordsmanship style, and if we're thinking about the strongest we know of in Wano right now, it's the Odin two sword style. And him being the shogun at this moment, you would expect both of his swords to be of some significance and some some caliber. Now, could that possibly be Sukiyaki or somebody like that makes him a new sword or something like that? Sure. But I think with the history we have with Shusui, knowing it's a high quality sword, already being a Black Blade, which Zoro use it, and Zoro wanted to keep it. Like I said, if we're going to see Momo inherit his father's fighting style, I thought it would also be a nice homage for the people of Wano to see their new leader after, because they haven't had a leader that like actually cared about them at all in 20 years. So to see like the beginning of an actual good leader and a reformation of the country, to be holding the national treasure that they have. That's why I thought, like I said, because the Odin two sword style would be the fighting style he's most likely to inherit. I would think that having Ame no Habakiri and Shisui would be great for Momo.
Just jumped in to be like, that is like the take. That is the take right there, Pete, man. Absolutely spitting. Like, there was a hell to cut the earth down to the underworld, and there's a hell to cut the sky up to the heavens, and they were both made for Momo. and like it definitely seems like he has ties to this two-sword style, which we see all the students of the Shimotsuki Dojo learning, and we also know Ushimaru was a two-sword style user. So yeah, it's real interesting, real interesting.
No, I love it. I really do. It's just my only concern is that like he doesn't really have like the best swordsman that we know of in Wano right now. Like Kinemon uses one sword. Sukiyaki was shown as Tenguyama using one sword, and then even like Hyogoro, who has his own style, is using one sword. So I just wonder who would teach him.
Well, who
like,
taught Odin? Was Odin just a natural?
Right, and when they were on the roof, I believe they did use a two-sword style.
But like I think it is definitely shown that like the families use one sword. Most of the families use one sword. That's what the samurai do. But the two sword comes from somewhere maybe around 800 years ago, but more importantly somewhere around the Shimotsuki and stuff like that. Because when you think of their crest, it is two swords. Kuina was the only one in that whole like system to be using one blade. And like Zoro was training with two.
Here's a panel that shows most of the scabbards, doing the two swords, so they know it. Like I said, are they as proficient as Odin with it?
I doubt it.
No, like
Odin was built different.
But they do know it, because when they were on the roof, like I'm looking at the panel now, but they're standing in front of Kaido, and you have Kanjuro, Dogstorm, Denjiro, and Ashura Doji. I'm sorry, Kinemon, Denjiro, Ashura Doji, and Dogstorm all doing the two-sword style with two swords in their hands. In front of.
I mean, this is the same gang that got absolutely battered by Green Bull, so I think it's a little debatable. But
like I said, I'm not. This isn't a question of their proficiency, like as far as like their strength, but just their knowledge of the sword style.
I definitely think they know it, like. Right. Well, like, because these guys know Odin's secret, right? And Odin's like a joy boy, but like a swordsman joy boy kind of thing. But so, like, yeah, they probably inherit it from him.
Sometimes the teacher isn't necessarily the one who's best at using it. Like, like football coaches aren't like the best football player to ever play football.
True.
Yeah, like I said earlier, who taught Odin how to use both swords? It was probably his dad or someone, I don't know. Like, Odin just pulled it out. Like, I'm a two-sword wielder. Like, same thing with Zoro.
I can't remember the dates, but we know Furiko and Ushimaru were around, right? So, and also, let's not forget Toki. I mean, he was pretty tight with Toki, and no doubt that she's seen some serious sword styles in her time, you know what I mean? I'm not even trying.
My question is this, I don't know, because who taught Zoro the sword style? That's interesting.
Well, he got it naturally through fighting Kuina, through like we're never explicitly told it's two sword style at the dojo, but that's what we're showing.
Because he tried to pick up like 8 swords at a time, and that didn't work.
Yeah, with his, and it was in his mouth, right? And then the 3 by 3 makes 9, which is the
9.
Yeah.
Also, do you think that the Shimotsuki guy that was the leader, the ruler, or from his area that was captured by Kaido, you think he's dead, or you think he's hiding somewhere?
No, he's dead.
I think I think him and the others were turned into numbers through experiments.
Whoa! I mean,
I never considered
that. Just to like add on to that, like I mean, I'm swaying towards that, but maybe with the Holy Knights. Like, if we get a Shimotsuki or a Holy Knight, that's one of them lot. My mind's gonna.
That would be nice. Like, oh damn, a Shimotsuki Holy Knight would be sick.
Right. But I think those ones specifically were turned into just because like the numbers were generated, as through results of Caesar's experimentation. Kaido was funding Caesar's experimentation, to a large degree. So I could see how the connection might be there and why they might send him byproducts that look kind of strong.
I totally believe it with the kids at Sheep's House, and I believe that they are CP0 and the 4 awakened impelled down guards, and I drew a little picture at one point. It when you look at it like that, it's just definite. I'm pretty confident. So, if that was the case, I wouldn't be too surprised, and that would be really sick. That'd be, in my opinion, I love that shit. And these characters are turned into these characters, and we just had no idea.
Yeah, we don't see. He just ran out from Yamato, right? He just I'm gonna go fight for what I believe in, and they never showed him again.
So right, that's he could have just got beat up and then sent to be a lab rat for Caesar down the line. or whatever it may be. Like he might have just kind of kept him around.
Coob, are you there?
I was known to play with his food.
A while back, we were talking about the number. I think it's number one, the one that looks like a devil sort of thing. He looks identical to another character. Who is it? You remember we talked about it?
Oh, I don't remember. I remember the discussion, but I forgot who we said he looked like. Wait,
it looks identical to him, but isn't. But it's just a normal like human sort of thing.
Wait, let me go back at number one. Oh no, number.
What's good, Valenci? Welcome to the call.
Oh, Yiga's time. Let's talk.
Yo, Queen of the Pirates.
I hear y'all cooking this morning, bro.
Yo.
Are you talking the green one, Hyde?
Which one do you mean, sorry? No, it's the red number, the one that shows with a poo.
Isn't that Indy?
Muglatan in the chat saying he looks like a personification of the Wado Ichimonji from the SBS.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's what you were going with.
No, wait. The Wado's not personified. Is the Wado the one that's personified as Yonko Saburo?
You got Envy, Fuga, Zanki, Jockey, Goki.
Did they number all of them? Like, did Oda give each number a title for which number they are? Maybe I thought it was only some of them. They did.
Yeah.
In Road to Laughter, I think he named the rest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're all named. They're all called the numbers because they're named after numbers. So Imbi is one, I think, because
So Imbi's the one I'm talking about. Imbi, the one that's red, that looks like a devil from Simpsons or something, or Futurama. It's him. He looks identical to another character. But instead of the mustache pointing up, it points down, and all the classic
he reminds me of the cat, the Nico Mamushi kind of. But no.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I'm looking at a picture right now where it has his picture next to Rock's silhouette, and that goes crazy.
What is it?
Talk about my PFP right there.
You know what? Actually, the hairstyle, it makes me think of Shiki's hair. The style of Shiki's hair. He has it always on blonde, but all around the back with the spike all around kind of gives me the Shiki vibe with their hair.
So I dropped it in the group chat that we're all a part of, but it's the MB side by side with Brock's silhouette. It goes crazy.
Oh, this one. I was looking at another one. Yeah, this one. Arlong vibes. I don't know, but it could be Rocks.
No, I get. Yeah, but I see what he means. There is something. The profile.
Is that dude with the top hat from? Is it maybe the Revolutionaries or something like that?
You talking about Lindbergh?
Are you talking about Hack the Fishman?
I don't think it's Hack. I don't think it's Lindbergh. Lindbergh's the short one, right?
Yo, he's got the Vista mustache, kind of.
Yeah.
Is it Vista? Am I thinking of Vista? Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a Vista because the mustache is Vista. It's true. The mustache is really Vista.
You know what? I'm gonna dive into the DM, but you guys keep going.
Yeah, y'all been cooking in that group chat. I didn't even know. I missed 25 messages while I've been on this call. I've been working the YouTube chat, not the Discord. But that's great.
Rip Smokey, by the way. Sorry you couldn't be here, buddy.
He's here in spirit. He's in our hearts, just like Sniper Island. Yeah, Balenci, I know you've been hearing us cook for a minute. Is there anything you wanted to maybe add to any of the shit that we've been cooking up? Now that you're here. Like, share, subscribe.
Balenci.
Yo, also 3 days got. So I'm not sure how much you've already announced, but there is a new channel. And it's open probably right now, so you can go sub there. It's called The Last Arc as well. We'll change the titles from this channel to Last Arc Live. Anyway, 4 EFT is dropping her first ever voiced video, and it is a banger. It's only 5 minutes long, and it's just like a sniper. So make sure you check it, and then drop her a message to be make her feel the love, build that confidence, and
Yeah, 3
Definitely
Day is
check that out.
a pillar of the community and a goat mod and just a wonderful person as well. And like I was saying earlier, if you haven't checked out Den Kushi's latest video, script was written by 3 Day. She's honestly a fire content creator in the making. Who's I can't wait to
A
beat that.
monster.
I
Dangerous
didn't even know
monster,
that.
right?
I'm excited to go check that out. Everybody, she has done so much for this community. So everybody, please make sure you show up and like and share and subscribe to the new channel and on her first voice theory. I know it's going to mean a lot to her. She is an absolute goat.
Mm-hmm.
Facts. 3 Day is the goat. Goats.
Is it just me, or does he also look like the demon number? He looks a bit like Stainless, that Vice Admiral. The one with the mustache?
It might be Stainless. Maybe it's Stainless. I'm looking up.
Look up.
It might be.
Bro, he also looks like Caribou for no weird reason other than his face structure.
Yeah.
The shape. Yeah.
This is what for me is, I don't think necessarily like the connection with rocks, but more connection of their culture or where they come from, that part of that world. Because I'm pretty sure wherever rocks comes, or carry all of that, it's a storyline we haven't been introduced yet. So it could be that.
No,
as well.
it's not. It's not Stainless. Oh man, this is
Yeah,
gonna
that
be-
mustache
I'll look
looks
at
a lot like Vista's mustache, though. Like what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I looked at this mustache. Is much prominent, but it's similar. This one is thinner.
We haven't seen Vista since the war, right? They haven't shown Vista at all, just in flashbacks.
Yeah.
We know that Vista was present at the Payback War, but it has not shown us anything outside of silhouettes as far
Hey, Vista is preparing for his get back on Mihawk. He wants the salty run back.
He's gonna get folded.
Hey, that's not the point. It's the
Yeah, he
principle.
do want that right. Get that.
It's the principle of it.
Maybe when Mihawk and Vista fight, we'll get like a Mihawk will just be thinking about the past, and we'll get a Mihawk flashback, and he won't even be there all in the fight, just disrespecting Vista.
Listen,
like this.
I do have this crazy theory that I do believe that Vista and Juzu could be this one, but I do feel like at one point it could be the fact that I'm wondering if there's some Whitebeard pirates who are going to go try to help out Weevil. If some of them do believe that narrative that he might be Whitebeard's son.
Well, I was gonna ask, do you guys think there's any possibility that Vista and Zoro fight?
No, but
I'll take it.
At this
I
point,
don't think they necessarily have to, but I think they're, in terms of like swordsmanship styles, I think there's a few things Zoro could stand to learn from like the fighting style that Vista uses. Even if he's already stronger than Vista, they fight in such like different styles. Like I think Zoro could still learn some stuff from fighting against him. So that's what I think.
Vista Awakens could really, really, really be something else.
You know who I
I
would
think Vista has a devil fruit.
he's not confirmed to have a devil fruit. Like he just has a flower style of swordsmanship like that, where there's like dancing petals, which is
He's just as good with it.
similar in the Long Ring Longland arc with what's her face, the chick. She's so forgettable. I'm sorry, but she used like a Sembon style like attack as well. So it was like the first we saw of that, and it's not a devil fruit either. But I don't know at this point, like how many more people as swordsmen can stand in the ring with Zoro? And we've all been speculating about Samurai Gandhi, aka Ethan Perry.
I know one likes.
And then, like, also we get Garling, who's he's strapped. He's got himself a sword as well. But who else outside of like Endgame can even stand in the ring with
That's
Zoro?
what I'm saying. We might need Vista, bro.
But also, I'm gonna answer to Pete's question about Zoro versus Vista. And we were talking about the flower thing. You know who actually makes me think of who would be an interesting fight? Brook versus Vista, because if you think about it, Brook, when he does his music while doing his fencing, he does like influence into surrounding. And you remember Vista's attack seems to have some sort of like it influence around him. Like we see those flower petals all the time. And we haven't seen that many swordsmen do that, so it could be that maybe there's a fight between Brook and Vista.
What's the dude called him from Bleach who has that like nutty bankai that comes out real late? Like the cherry blossom dude.
Oh, Sembo Sakura. What's his name?
Byakuya.
Yeah. Like Brook could like if he mixed them together, the whole soul sword and the whole soul through, that would be like wild. But also, like I was talking the other day, I think it was the Vex, like, and I know it sounds stupid, but I wouldn't be surprised if Zoro is underrated. That like that this dude is really something else. Like you could cut the red line eventually or something like that, because currently he has Wado and stuff like that. But some of you might have heard me talk before about Yoro.
Zoro versus, Vista versus Brook is actually pretty interesting, because I think one of the things Brook needs the most, I think he's very good with his devil fruit and stuff like that. I would love to see more swordsmanship feats from Brook. Like, I love him as a character and everything, but in terms of his overall strength, I would love to see. I know he's obviously old, but it's like that doesn't mean there's no way for him to grow. So I would love to see some swordsmanship feats.
Really quick, 3-day. I don't know if you're joking in the chat or not, but run it back 5 minutes, because we've been singing your praises, and I want you to pick up on them vibes, because she just said, "Hey, I was gone for a few minutes. Did something happen?"
her first voice video.
W's in the chat again for 3 days since she missed it.
W for 3 days.
Absolute W's for 3 days. But to go back into what you were saying. Shit, I'm so sorry. I derailed my own train of thought. What were you just saying, Pete?
Talking about Vista fighting Brook, because I would like to see more swordsmanship feats from Brook.
Yeah, it'll be a great matchup.
What about more music feats by Brook? Brook versus Apu.
Just any Brook. Any Brook would be good.
Hold up. Ken, did you say Vista would decimate Zoro?
Yeah, I saw that in the chat. I saw that in the chat.
Sir, we're gonna have to talk.
I'm getting here.
That's such a hot take. But no, 3-day, for real, take it back 7 minutes or so, and we were just straight up, it's gonna warm your heart. I know you're gonna love it, so go peep that, and then catch up to us, fast forward that shit. But what was
Vista Brook. That was the last thing.
Vista is not Byakuya Kuchiki. He can't do all of those things.
He's a poo. Okay, TJ.
Go back to your question when you asked about who can fight Zoro now. I feel like there's a God Knight with swords or some shit. Maybe he would just have one sword and maybe he would just swing that shit, or he could have multiple swords and have his own sword style.
No, that did help me remind.
And Zoro has to fight to get the Mihawk. So forget Gandhi, alright? Gandhi old as hell, he in the castle, forget that nigga. How about Mihawk? The space between him and Zoro. I think there's a God Knight in there somewhere.
For sure. And
it can't be Garland. It can't.
I mean, it could be, but there could be another. It doesn't have to be. But what I'm thinking is to go back to what me and Hyde were talking about, in the chat as well. Earlier in the week, and then he just brought it back up, is that Zoro could be underrated. I firmly believe that is the case, and if you think about it, Gold D. Roger had made it to Pirate King status with just Haki and a blade, and I think that Zoro will meet with Roger's caliber of he will be Pirate King status, but Luffy will be above him because of the Sun God fruit and plot armor.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Plot armor.
I think that legitimately Zoro will become equivalent to where Gold Roger was in his prime, and Luffy will surpass that because he's him.
Hearing feat Zoro would do, but what's his name? The jailer from Impel Down. I keep forgetting his name. The one Shiryu. Everyone. I remember there were a bunch of theories in the past where he was gonna get Jozu's devil fruit, but he didn't. So maybe Zoro's gonna end up fighting Jozu, and we'll see him cut Diamond. We haven't seen him cut Diamond yet.
I mean, that would be cool.
That would be cool.
Actually,
for sure, because Mihawk couldn't do it. Well, didn't do it. I don't know if he couldn't or if he didn't.
I was about to say, I don't know about couldn't.
For Mihawk.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for me, it's all about desire, the thing that was told to Zoro, and before that, he made a statement on wanting to hit Whitebeard. So I also like this idea that Mihawk could be he's that good to the point that if you're not his intended target, you will not get the same damage. Like, he doesn't, basically there's no straight bullet, you know what I mean? With him, is that he hits his target and the other people will be wounded, but not the same level. So he doesn't have. But I was gonna say about the Vista thing, and I'll let go Blincy. I do feel like he might come back to short pretty fast because right now we're going all to the flower frames. Sakura flowers, Vegapunk replacing bullets with flowers. So it could be a thing that we're going to a storyline where Vista will be reintroduced, flashback or current timeline. That was just what I was gonna say.
That's interesting.
You can go Blincy.
I was going to bring up when Vex was like, oh, Zoro might just hit that caliber of Pirate King in the future, but obviously Luke's stronger. So I was thinking, like, in Wano, we seen Zoro try to, like, not figure out, but we seen him a couple times use his actual conquerors more than he did throughout the story. And then back in Alabasta, he learned how to cut nothing and something at the same time whenever he wanted to. So do you think in the future he'll get to, like, a Shanks level where, like, he can just launch out hockey attacks from his sword instead of having to make direct contact like he has up to now? Like, advanced armament, but on the sword, I guess.
So I think with hockey, while there obviously like some of these feats we see are a determination of strength, I think the application also varies widely depending on the user. Like, for example, Whitebeard might not use his Conqueror's hockey in the same way as Shanks, but that doesn't mean I necessarily say that Whitebeard's Conqueror's hockey in his prime is weaker than Shanks. Like, if that makes sense. Like, they apply them in two different ways. Like Zoro, like Luffy and Zoro. Like, Luffy applies his Conqueror's hockey to his fists to accentuate his punches. Zoro applying his Conqueror's hockey to his blades would obviously have to be done in a different fashion, like even if it's down to like kind of the details of it, because his attacks are based on slashing or piercing versus blunt damage. And so I think Zoro could reach that level of Conqueror's hockey usage. Will it be displayed like Shanks? I don't think so, just because I think they're two very different style of fighters.
Well, I could see.
But I think he can reach that level.
An example I think would be against when Zoro like terrified Monet. He just cut her without using hockey, and she was like, pooping bricks. she's freaked out. He got her psychologically. Yeah, he got her psychologically, and that was, I'm pretty sure, some kind of form of Conqueror's hockey.
That was always thinking, like, Kurosaki coming from Zoro in the future. I was picturing that shit in my head. But the way Pete talking, it makes sense that he'll get something different within his Conqueror's usage. That's fine.
But yeah, maybe like in the future we'll see like Zoro, like people that are scared of him, like they know he's strong, and he'll bring his sword out and he'll just swipe it, like slash it, but not really not hitting anyone, and they all just fall down, or they feel like they got slashed and they're psychologically and they're down. Like,
I don't know if this was confirmed, but did he make King of Hell like a sword style, or did he just say that when he was fighting King?
Well, I think it's like the name of his new kind of move set, as it might be referred to, in terms of like him using that kind of that level of power. We got the flashback. When he was the guy that made the sword was a Kozuburo. Was explaining, like, there's one thing I made, and so I named it, based on, how it was made. He named it after, the ruler of hell. And that's how it got its name. And I think him naming that kind of moveset King of Hell or whatever is just his way of symbolizing that, like, he's mastered the sword, even if he has room to improve in terms of his actual usage of Conqueror's hockey. In terms of his control of Enma, I do believe he's mastered it, and that's why he doesn't do like a massive drain on his arm anymore or something like that we've seen. Like, I think that King of Hell moveset was the first time we saw him like not struggling to control how much power that Enma was drawing from him. And that's why it's the King of Hell moveset. He's like, I've conquered Enma, like this is my sword now. And this is the level I can perform at with it. So,
yeah. Hooking up.
I did have a question about Usopp.
Usopp.
Oh yeah.
Since we're generally talking about, because I believe in terms of Straw Hats, there's some room for improvement. I understand not all the Straw Hats are geared to be fighters. They're not all frontline fighters and things like that. But I do believe there's a general level of strength that they need to have as far as reaching endgame. And the ones that I feel that are furthest off from that, or that we just haven't seen anything from lately, are Usopp, Brook, and Frankie. And so for Usopp, my personal desire is for Usopp to get a gun. As unlikely as that may be, I want him to have an interaction with Yasopp that leads to him carrying a gun of some sort, and possibly improving his skill in observation hockey. But do you guys think that a gun might be in Usopp's future, or is it slingshot all the way?
I mean, his slingshot could have a devil fruit, or could give it a devil fruit.
Yes, that's not gonna die in front of Usopp. No, Yasopp's just gonna die in front of Usopp.
Right, and then he gets Yasopp's guns.
La. He might try fire it and it doesn't work or something, or might not have the courage to kill the dude.
Yeah, P. I was the other day when you asked about this. I was like, bro, what if Usopp? He could have a gun. Don't get me wrong, but what if they don't know how to shoot a gun? Because you can have a gun, you can have a sword, you can.
But that's why a mini training arc with Yasopp would be great for his observation hockey and great for his marksmanship.
Nah, I don't need
I don't think we already see Usopp using a gun in the openings and endings. I think that's all we're gonna get.
Yeah. No, for real.
Yeah.
I don't need a Yasopp, but I think that Ragnar has the most fire Usopp development theory as far as what draws into Elbaf. If he wants to come in and speak his piece, if not, I can give a little brief summation of it. But this man has it down pat. Sorry, Josh, I cut you off. Go ahead.
I'm trying to say that Usopp, with his moveset, a gun would be a straight out downgrade. Like his slingshot, it's a living plant. It's part of his moveset. He doesn't need a gun.
Nah, he don't need it. Ragnar,
I feel you on that part too.
Ragnar, please educate these people on your amazing.
The idea is that based on what we've seen from Bonnie, there is a high chance that Bonnie could change Usopp into the bravest version of himself, which would be technically Sniper King, the version of Usopp that's not really him, it's just a personality thing. And Usopp could get a gun, but he'll have to be worthy of it, which is based on Odin's spear, Gulnir, right? And it would be a spear that never misses. But how would that involve Usopp? He gets a spear gun. But the only way he qualifies for it is being the bravest warrior, a brave warrior machine, like he's always said. And Bonnie is the way to do it.
Right. Now, my only slight pushback with that is that I believe the effects of Bonnie's fruits have stated to be temporary. But are you just saying she does that for when he gets the weapon and he goes back, or that he's just permanently?
It's not a permanent change, but the idea is it's like this. Once Usopp knows, there's a possibility of him being that, because that's what Bonnie's fruit does. It shows them a possible future. It's not like a future that doesn't exist. He can be that person. Usopp, just knowing that person, that version of him is real, it's not a figment of his imagination, it's not a lie he told, would make a big difference in how his character direction goes.
Yeah, I love the Gungear reference there, because that is the perfect thing for a Sniper King. Even though that's not Usopp, that's someone different. But it's the perfect weapon. It's something that never misses. But I also want him to get Mjolnir in his bag, which would be really interesting, because we know that Usopp has never told a lie, not once. He did specifically claim to wield a 5,000-pound hammer or whatever against Perona on Thriller Bark. So we know he doesn't tell lies, which means to me, in this story, he will wield a 5,000-pound hammer or whatever, or 200-ton or whatever the crazy weight was. He will wield that hammer before the conclusion of this.
Now, Vex.
Wait, just before, because I'm going to give one thing that me and Ragnar, it's just mostly Ragnar, but he forgot that point, in which we've realized that thing with the spear actually is a moment in the Odyssey, in which the Odyssey is a lot inspired in One Piece. So there's credence with the Odyssey, what Ragnar is saying as well.
Yeah, me and Cube have been working on this idea of Usopp representing the story of the journey of a hero, which is the most famous journey of the hero is literally the Odyssey. So with just that alone, there's actually plenty of connections with Usopp's character and the story of that specific hero.
Now, Vex, I was gonna push back slightly on the Usopp lying bit, because if I say I have $1 million, but I don't have $1 million, but later, much later, I do get $1 million. Was I lying when I said?
Yeah, but the idea is whether or not like it's going to come true, which is what we see with the Bragman books. Like what the Bragman books might have been a fiction at the time, but through Luffy's journey, we see that actually happen. So like Vex is saying that like it doesn't need to be the truth; it can be a lie, but at the same time, when he does lie, it comes true. So we can presume that he's going to get like a giant's hammer or like some massive hammer.
The way that we can also think of it is that time is cyclical and possibly like subjective and things like that. So maybe like, and Cube had a theory as well that it's repressed memories. And I don't know if I firmly believe that. I think I'm more along the lines of we have his lies being manifested into reality so that they become true after the fact. And yes, retroactively, that doesn't make it not a lie, but it's just my agenda. Usopp has never told a lie. If you want to get like into the semantics of it, maybe it was a lie at the time, but it was like, I don't know if it's like a retcon power or if it's like or something like that.
It's like an inverted truth. It's like the will of like the voice of all things, or like his will can't help but speaking the truth. Kind of like Sogeking, like is a manifestation of that as well. Like he's scared, but somehow it just manifests.
I was gonna the thing because he did what he just said. My take about Usopp repressed memory is that if I said if. Because I do feel one part of me believes that they're all for the voice century and it's been a cycle. Then has released a video on it that you have to check it out. And so with that logic, I said maybe Usopp, the fact that, as you know, like in a world where everybody was told a lie is the truth, the person who tells the truth was seen as a liar. So what if like some of the Usopp thing, they come true because it is stuff that actually he knows is true, but he just says it as repressed memories, but he says as lies as his coping mechanism, So that was the whole thing, like, or so maybe Usopp wanted to become a brave lion. Instead, in this world, he's seen as a liar instead, which is interesting because the pronunciation is similar. But that was the spitball I was going with. But yeah, that was the idea of, Usopp repressed memory, so they get the whole context.
And Atlas literally said perception shapes, your reality and things like that. And like you can choose to decide for yourself and whatnot. So I definitely think that like everything he's ever said, like he will get Conqueror's Haki before the end of the story, but that's a whole other agenda. I wanted to welcome to the chat, into the call, Muglatan. What's going on, brother?
Yo, what's up? I wanted to say something like introducing myself for 2 minutes now, but the conversation's been popping off, so I didn't get the opportunity. So I'm Muglatan. I think like most people like here have probably like, or like at least half the people here have probably like talked to me in VC before. I've got a YouTube channel called Muglatan, and it's pretty good. I haven't uploaded videos recently because I've just been kind of weighed down by some other stuff, but I think in the next few months certainly there's going to be a lot more uploads coming, so stay tuned for that.
I can completely vouch for this dude. Like there's not many people that talk about what Moog talks about, particularly in VC, that isn't public yet, but this dude knows, like, and considering your age, without baiting you too much, your shit. So yeah, like
I was gonna go subscribe right now, but I'm already subscribed. I don't know how, but
Free Day put it in the chat, so everybody go check that link. Support your
and guys, just because it's getting a bit late, I have some stuff that I need to handle in the apartment, so I'm gonna have to dip out. So, but
no worries, dude.
It was great talking with all of you. Yeah.
We'll hold it.
Yeah, Cube. not fucking Kev.
But it was great chatting with you all, and enjoy the session, and keep on spitting.
And check out 3 days in video.
Yeah, have a good day. Have a good day, Cube.
Yeah, see ya.
Later.
Diamond Vista supremacy, exactly, Kev. Exactly. He's on the fucking agenda. He knows.
Who let this guy?
Diamond Vista? Damn.
Oh my god.
Like Jozu and Vista did the fusion dance, and now they're
the Potaru.
Okay. Vista is gonna wield Jozu as a weapon, as a sword.
Oh my god.
What if Jozu could just like imbue his powers into Vista's swords? Like, have some of my diamond powers.
Yeah, we're really cooking now. This is wild.
I mean, I have a whole fucking script about this that I've been like working on over the course of months. Like a whole theory about why basically Vista's gonna get Jozu's diamond fruit, or like has got it already, and is gonna be using it for some sort of wacky stuff later down the line, especially in regards to like Blackbeard and you know.
What did I say about awakening? What did I say? Like, trust me, dude. Like, it would be mad if he had some sort of awakened fruit.
Well,
and
not even awakened.
Fruit, it's just
not even awakened. Because like just the diamond fruit itself is fucking OP. If you think about like how Mihawk did what was called, it was called the world's strongest sword slash in Marineford, and okay, we don't know, there's still like some kind of there's a bit of kind of like, I don't know what the word is, like leniency with that, you know, is it really the strongest slash? But the fact that like it's from Mihawk, it won't be, he wasn't like playing around, and Jozu just by nature of him having the diamond fruit, it seems like it wasn't his haki or anything, blocked the slash. Like the diamond fruit is it's a real counter for any swordsman, and if a swordsman had that themselves, then that would be pretty hard for people like Zoro to get through. That's kind of the main idea of the theory. I won't spoil too much, but yeah.
We got some foreshadowing what a swordsman weakness is, and we saw in the same chapter probably, we saw Jozu tank that hit, and we saw Buggy completely avoid Mihawk. 2 counters.
I mean, believe it or not, like I'm not a Zoro simp, but I'm telling you, he would make like light work of that stuff. like nowadays, like he's just so much more OP than anyone else, like swordsman wise, in my opinion, except for obviously.
So here's the thing, right? Here's the thing with the diamond fruit, is that it's not just OP because it's diamond. Because I'm sure like Mihawk or even Zoro by this point can, you know, use the voice of all things, can do a sword that, you know, cuts rock but not paper. You know, he can cut through the diamond for sure. But the problem is that unlike, you know, Mr. Wonsru, where he was entirely made out of steel or iron or whatever it was, like the user of the diamond fruit is still just their like normal body in the middle. So even if you cut through the diamond, their actual like self in the middle would like be unharmed. So that's like a doubly why it would be so sort of devastating.
It's like undamageable even if you cut it.
So Zoro would be able to, I'm probably overthinking it, but not only would Zoro have to like hear the voice, the sound of the diamond, but then he'd probably at the same time hear the voice, the sound of the devil fruit user, and maybe the previous users too. They're all in there.
Well, I'm not sure if like I think this whole thing that Oda introduced is kind of nutty. Like this idea that he used conquerors and was like, "What do you mean I use conquerors?" So maybe he doesn't have to consciously hear it. Maybe like the way of Bushido that he has is so strong, so powerful that he can just tap into the voice of all things anyway. He can tap into like Conqueror's haki and just like he's just like a bit of a maverick.
Well, so Hyde, are you saying that he used conquerors in Alabasta?
No, in Wano.
Yeah.
I've been saying Zoro used conquerors since Whiskey Peak.
Well, there you go.
I still think Zoro was probably stronger than Luffy up till like all the pre-time skip. Zoro was probably stronger than Luffy.
Is Luffy and Zoro side by side completely stopped Mr. 5 and Miss Golden Week, or not Miss Golden Week? Miss Valentine.
Miss Wednesday. Valentine. Just to add to that as well, like, if I'm not mistaken, that is the scene or the chapter where we see Zoro in front of the moon, like doing the Nika pose, I think, in front of the moon.
Oh, I had so.
True.
You guys, the what Gorilla 2 Gorilla thing is like a version of Life Return.
I've also been saying that.
Yeah, I think so.
Like that.
Cause hey, he used that against Kaku in Eni's lobby.
Yeah, and Odin used a similar technique whenever he was facing off against Kaido. He prepared his arm, and then you see his arm bulk up. Like his bicep almost doubles in size.
No.
Specifically his feat of hearing the intent of the rocks or whatever, like I think that's directly I mean it could be arguably a facet of voice of all things, like a voice of some things, which I've been saying in VC for a lot now, and but also like, you know, it just ties into observation hockey, which I think is also like he could smell booze an island away right before they got to the fort and Rufy smashed it with the Red Rock, and like he literally like that's. And like a lot of the Straw Hats, there's an argument that they've been using like the voice of some things or some latent form of like observation hockey, because like Nami can basically just like talk to weather phenomenon or like hear them or something like that.
She could speak their language. She hears it. Yeah.
Sanji can hear a damsel in distress from like literally an entire island away, which we've seen on several accounts now. And so like it's like a more
frequency, right? Like it's like a different, like it's an analog frequency. I imagine like Zoro can sense certain things, Sanji can sense certain things.
Yeah, I think Zoro specifically was probably the first person to demonstrate this with with prowess, but Nami arguably might have been able to do this since she was much younger.
Robin
as
with
well.
the poneglyphs.
Yeah, she's got it with the weather. Roger had it with the poneglyphs and stuff.
Yeah, and then Chopper with the he could speak to animals. Like they all have their own little strength.
Issa had it naturally with Mantra as well. In Sky Island, they show that it's not just like you don't have to be trained in a certain thing. Some people are born naturally gifted in certain areas, and Issa is the biggest example we've seen since people like Nami.
Yeah, she had that empathy, like on Kobe levels. Like she was able to sense people dying and sense the malice within Wiper and his intentions and things like that. Like Issa is a prime example as well of like some latent usage. And I think that Zoro, he wasn't showing armament feats too early on, but I think he was absolutely showing observation feats pretty early on. I don't know about Conquerors though. I don't know about Conquerors.
There's something I want to bring up since somebody brought up the Nika silhouette with that Zoro made. I don't know if y'all know about when Brook did it in Fishman Island. He was in front of a moon. It was a silhouette, and he was so far the only one that, like Nika, that was wielding two weapons or wielding two objects like Nika. What were those two weapons? Nika's holding like a spear and a little sword. Brook was wielding his violin and the violin bow. I found that super significant and important.
So I can definitely like. I can give my take, but like I'll be completely honest. Like I would say personally, it's less of a take and it's more just like not. I don't want to say fact. It sounds arrogant, but it's pretty much fact. Like basically, you have the sword and the spear, and we see this in Skypiea particularly with Kalgara and Nolan. Nolan with the sword, Kalgara with the spear, and the idea is like the left-hand path and the right-hand path. Which, for those who don't know, and please don't cancel this YouTube, it's like any picture you look at from thousands of years ago in real life, you'll see one of their hands are down and one of their hands are up. It'll always be the left that's down, right that's up. And we see this on the Oda's depicted this on the murals that are on the moon as well. So we know he knows about as above, so below, or left hand path, right hand path. And so the spear and the sword we see throughout different characters. So when Zoro has another Nika moment when he fights Kuina, and you see him in the Nika shape, he's holding two swords. So there you have the right hand path. He's got the two swords. Both of them are to cut. Both of them are to chop that shit up. You know what I mean? So that's him. He's the right wing of the Pirate King. And then Sanji he's technological, but the idea is his character's emotional. Like the point is the emotion beats the technology. He's more human than he is mechanical, even if he is mechanical. And that is the left-hand path, the feminine side, the emotional. Like, and when I say feminine, I don't mean woman. I mean like feminine, masculine. Masculine changes that which is around it. Feminine is changed by that which is around it. So yeah, Sanji is changed. He reacts to the emotions. Zoro doesn't react to anything. He just does. He proacts. So that's what the spear and sword is pretty much about. And you should be able to see it in every single arc. But if that is a rant that no one understood, I'm so sorry.
No, I like it.
No, that made sense.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, it looks super sick when Brook does it though, in that Fishman Island arc. I love that panel.
It's a beautiful idea, in my opinion. You've got the bow, which like is the masculine, and then you've got the instrument that plays the sound. You've got something that pushes and something that reacts, which is the music coming out from the violin. It's a a beautiful take on something that's usually done like for thousands of years, has been covered in a lot more like garish or violent way. So yeah, I think personally it's one of my, I used to not be into the music too much. I used to like, when I read it as a kid, I used to be like, okay, skip, because I just didn't get it. But now I like read all the lyrics, I like listen to their songs and stuff, and it's just like, this Oda dude, his head, like how does it like not explode? You know what I mean? He's a genius.
I want to kind of ask something real quick. That's kind of, it's not related to what we were talking about just now, but you know, I haven't really talked to a lot of people like Voice to Voice since 1086 dropped, and it's something that's been on my mind a lot recently, which is like, what do we think about the Gorosei? Are they immortal? And like, what is going on with their powers? Like, are they Zoans? Is it like their souls? What do we think?
Well, I believe that it's mythical Zoans. Very fruits.
You think it's Zoans?
Yeah, mythical Zoans. Like their title. Warrior god of something. Their devil fruits would be the opposite.
I think that Zoans is definitely what it's being painted, you know, as by the, I think we've seen it in several different silhouettes throughout the series and whatnot. I actually just went back and read through 1062, which is whatever they get pulled up on by all of the weaponized sea beasts. And if you look specifically, some of those silhouettes look almost exactly like what we're seeing in the Gorosei. Like, in 1062, like whenever, you know, it's insane. Like whenever, like right after Lilith gets revealed, and so I mean, it could be tech that is enhancing like Zoans as maybe possibly as well, but I'm not sure.
I've got a question.
What's up?
What do you think? There's any chance that, like, do you think that Sabo or Cobra saw all of what was going down? Do you think that they could see all that, or do you reckon we could see that? And they saw, you know, just the pistols out and stuff like that.
That's a good question.
So when they're running away and they get hit by an arrow, I wonder if they could actually see that, like.
Yeah.
So the thing is,
Oda might just do it where like Sabo, even though he was behind the pillar and shouldn't have been able to see it without them seeing him, like he saw it all anyway. Like he knows what happens just because plot, you know.
Yeah.
No,
he definitely heard what
he
they
didn't
were saying,
describe it though, right?
They didn't notice him there.
He didn't say it to.
Hey, Wapple saw it, and I think that's what's
being and shadowed.
Andy spitting, by the way. Like Andy was just spitting then. Like he didn't report it to Dragon or Ivankov. He just literally left that part out.
Yeah, maybe it was too much for him. That he's too traumatized. Yeah, Sabo and Wapple both look, especially Wapple. They saw shit. They were, yeah, they are.
Well, to be fair, what we were seeing was more or less like Sabo's recollection, but like the fact that they were kind of shadowed and silhouetted could just be for the sake of the reader, not just Sabo. Like he, you know, we didn't hear him like, you know, explicitly explain a lot of stuff in the backstory to Dragon and Ivankov, so I wouldn't say they necessarily don't know. Plus, they already seem to have some background. In
Dragon
terms of
definitely
like
looks
the
like
Holy Knights and the Gorosei, so they might know things to some degree, and even by Sabo's description, might be able to piece other things together. Because Ivankov made the comment of, you know, at least it being, you know, something serious, that there was something that the Gorosei were willing to bend the knee to, basically. Like it was not necessarily impressive, but like it's worth considering that there's a power out there that made people as great as the Gorosei, or however Ivankov phrased it, you know, submit to their will, which I think obviously implies previously like there wasn't anyone standing above them before Imu came into the picture, and that they were already kind of an established function of the system before Imu existed, or before Imu took over. I won't say existed, but before Imu took over. And so I think that the shadowy silhouette, or like silhouettes, however you want to see it, that's for the sake of the reader and not necessarily exactly what Sabo saw in that situation.
To go with what
Yeah,
you're saying there, I think. Sorry, yeah. Like I was just thinking, like it could be like we've just noticed like flowing hockey and like Rio in the land of Wano, and it's kind of like the next step that you needed to get to reach like internal destruction and things like that. And hockey masters see that. And I'm not so partial to. I mean, it could be devil fruits, but at the same time, it very well could be hockey. And this could be that they have flowing armament hockey surrounding them, and that's why we see like a black, like aura, like they're literally turning like the area around them into like an armament field or something, and they can shape it however they want. So maybe like, because we just got away from a ton of mythical Zoans. And things like that. So I don't know if maybe that was foreshadowing and the litmus test for like the end game, or maybe this is a red herring and it's something completely different. And as far as the longevity, I'm thinking that along the lines of Kureha and maybe even Lao Ji, that these guys, because we've seen that they haven't aged at all since like what we saw in the Ohara flashback. I'm thinking that they have maybe not the perpetual youth surgery, but just they've cracked like the life return and whatever Lao Ji's ability was called or whatever. And maybe that's why like they're so.
Well, Lao Ji and the bio stuff is intense, like, and like pulling his soul back into his body and doing like killing people with his mind sort of thing.
What if?
But just to cut in real quick, like Vex mentioned a scene with the sea beast underwater, and he posted a picture in the chat, and I've reposted it in general in One Piece in the TLA server. So if you want to see that, go in the TLA and look in general. That is insane. Like I cannot believe, like that is insane because they're in the water, which is like this whole mother idea, and that's really, really interesting, dude. Like good fun.
The weaponized sea beast, like that, those silhouettes. I went back and reread 1062 to get ready for
They look very similar. They look. I know. I saw it earlier right now. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even notice that.
Like it, and that's not devil fruit.
That's crazy.
That's specifically tech, and it's in the water, so we know it's not devil fruit. Like, so I mean, that's my thing is it could be devil fruit, but I'm more along the lines of thinking that that's a red herring, and I think it's hockey. I think that hockey is the true answer.
Well, it would be evidence to suggest it is, because it's in the water. Like it's like somewhere where fruits can't be active. So, and like there's no way that Oda's gonna just weigh this chick down with a devil fruit and the weakness of water, surely. Or else they just drown her and be done with it. Like
same thing with the Gorosei. Like it might just be a red herring too. I feel like them being mythical zones, that's too obvious. Like it's maybe it is that, but there has to be something else. Like what if like Imu can give a part of their soul to the Gorosei and extends their life, prolongs it, like, you know, lets them stay alive longer, like kind of like the Voldemort and the Horcruxes. And
he said it.
What?
No, but I mean, we saw Lao Ji go full, like, for lack of a term, like beast mode. Dude, like cracked open a can of whoop ass, and he's as old as he is. But like, if the Gorosei were presumably maybe at the very least twice as old, we don't even know. It could be way more than that. What would their monstrous forms look like? Like if they were to do the same kind of feat, you know, that Lao Ji's got.
Also, there's a cover, the Vegapunk cover story. When we see Vegapunk like siding with the government, they show he's in front of the Gorosei, but they're all silhouetted. We can't see them. Maybe Oda didn't want us to see them how they looked like years ago. I'm not really sure about the timeline wise, if it was before when we see the Gorosei during the Ohara incident, or if it was after, if you get what I mean. But yeah, maybe Oda, the only reason why he hit them was because he didn't want us to see that they were still, like, they looked exactly the same.
Well, I think that, you know, because of the large variety of devil fruits that we see, especially with like the Zoans and the mythical Zoans and, you know, all that stuff, I think like, you know, not all the legends necessarily in terms of the One Piece world were turned into devil fruits. Like some could just still be existing. Like if we're talking about the Gorosei or you know, like the shadowy figures you were kind of seeing closer to there, it could just be that there are some ancient or legendary creatures that are just still remaining from previous time, you know, taking on whatever form they will. But like I said, I agree that it's not a devil fruit. I don't know if it's necessarily hockey related, because I think some of it could just be like there's some very old, very scary things lurking around, and that's kind of the whole thing. Even if you look at the real world, you know, that's kind of the whole thing with the ocean. It's like there's so much that we don't know, so much that's unexplored. It's the same thing in the One Piece world. Even though we've, you know, got the Fishman Island at the bottom of the sea, we still don't know everything about the sea.
I like where you're coming with the those could just be like, you know, like how there's devil fruits of mythical zones, but there has to have been a source, right? If it wasn't a dream, maybe there actually was a god. Those Goroseis are just, they're still alive. They haven't been reincarnated yet into fruits. They're the actual source. Like that could be it. Yeah,
I think, and part of it, well, at least from I mentioned it in chat earlier, but how I see the devil fruits is I believe that they kind of came into existence as a, you know, last ditch effort by the D clan to leave something for the future, you know, at least to put it out there to be used by various people in terms of the future, inspiring, you know, whatever goal they were going for. And I think it was them, and part of what made the D clan special is that through the power of their souls, they were able to physically manifest some of the strongest wills and desires and beliefs of people in general. And that's why we see less devil fruits than there are people in general, but they cover such a wide variety of things, a wide variety of thoughts and desires. And that's why you have giraffes that can twist their necks into squares, and triceratops that can, you know, rotate their necks like a helicopter and fly. Like, you know, it's not necessarily based on the, you know, exact scientific facts of those things, but people's perception or people's desire or their wishes for those things. And the Gorosei being the opposition to the D clan, potentially, it would make sense if those legends or those things were resistant to the powers of the D clan that created the devil fruits in the first place.
I like that a lot. Like, I like what also Kev was saying, is that like talking about like Life Return or Seme Kikan, and like if people were being told that, like, you know, for so long that you can't do something, or like Sam, along the lines of, if, you know, if we were led to believe for thousands of years that dinosaurs can rotate their necks and like shit like that, like, and the wonky things that we've seen from ancient Zoans and whatnot. But in the reverse of that, which is something I brought up in the theory class yesterday as well, is if people are told for long enough that they can't do something, then they would not really be able to do that. So this could be like that Life Return is like letting people take on different forms. And if you look at the Hito no Mi wielded by Chopper, he has specifically like 7 different forms. Is that like an homage to what humans were once capable of?
Yeah, the knowledge.
What I was thinking, that every form of Chopper resembles one of the main races of One Piece.
Yes, which is why he goes to Torino Kingdom. Like I personally think that, like, when I personally think at the fall of the Ancient Kingdom, Emu was like around and learned in its destruction, like found, like in its rubble, learn of the ancient technology, and because because of that, it's like she learns all that technology, which leads her to do the Void Sentry, to create the Void Sentry, because she's like, holy shit. She learns that wills can reincarnate. She learns that people can live forever. She learns this, that, and the other, Life Return, stuff like that. And she's like, if I allow this to be public knowledge, Joy Boy will return, and I'm fucked. So she starts like hiding it all and all that stuff. And, you know, in the poneglyphs, like we were talking today, I've been reading One Piece for a long time, and I've never thought about this until today. Like, the idea that the writing on the poneglyph is the voice of all things, it is the power, it is the history. Like, it's like, I was thinking, why did Joy Boy write in that language if the language is not around that time? Like, and it's probably because he found that language and wanted to like push it, you know, because in real life the idea is like, they call it spelling because you're casting a spell, right? When you talk to somebody, like if you call someone a dickhead, it makes them react. It's like you're casting a spell on somebody. So it might be that this language is the key to all of this technology, which is the voice of all things or something like that. And Emu sort of abused it to extend her life and blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure if you can hear the dogs barking. If you can, I'm sorry.
That one, bro. That was probably one of the best theories I've ever heard. about a poneglyph.
Oh, dude. Oh, Valencia.
I never heard that before. Like the writings actually mean some shit when it comes to, like voices and shit like that. I never thought about that.
It says Panda Man on one of the poneglyphs, by the way. Not everyone knows that, which is funny.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Oh, your theory gotta be real if it's Panda Man. Gotta be real.
Yeah. It's definitely the voice of all things, yeah.
Yeah, like you've heard the
It's
thing,
Panda-Man.
never read out loud something in Latin. Like, yeah, what if you read something out loud in Poneglyph language?
I put a bunch of things in chat in the One Piece General. I know we've kind of like moved off the subject now, but basically, like just a bunch of examples of the Gorosei's like shapes being kind of weird. You can see like blobs falling off them, and like the arrow changes shape, and like the bird guy's neck changes shape. And this is like the biggest thing that hints to me that it's not just mythical Zoans, because it's like, as well as like Emu's one, like hanging onto the ledge and sort of not falling down despite how big it is. Like I know it's like a bit hard to tell because it's not, it's manga, right? There's no motion going on, but it's all still images. But it just feels like they're kind of drawn to be these kind of like amorphous things with no real shape. They're not like Zoans where they have like a clear, 3 transformations that they stick to, that they're always like the same in. Maybe it could just be like they're awakened and they can have like Luffy, has like he can change his shape more freely when he's awakened. It might be something like that, but I don't know. I feel like that's kind of unique to Luffy,
The way I was
This
looking
leads
at
me
it,
to
that- the way I was looking at it when this shit came out was the Gorosei, this like might be their power, but like there's more to them. Like there might be another power they have, not overpowered, but like something different from what we seen when they fought or tried to get Sabo to not leave and shit. And it's like, what if, because Saturn is leaving, so we know Saturn is separated from the rest of Gorosei, so we're going to see some difference from them all being together. So I'm thinking, what if
I agree.
all 5 of them with each other next to Emu gives them a certain amount of power that is greater than one of them by themselves away from the other?
That's what I was
this
gonna say.
leads
like,
me-
I think they're augmented by Emu's power, like their
Yeah,
ability.
Emu
to
gives
augment.
them some energy the closer they are to her, he, or that's
a
how
part of
Okay,
Emu's soul.
let me ask this question. Right, and also chat. Make sure you answer, because like this was divisive last time. So like, and we still don't know the answer. Do you think, right? Moog mentioned that on the back wall it was Emu. Do you think that is actually Emu, or do you think Emu's not in that picture? Because when you count them, it seems to be.
No, you
only
can see the
5.
5th one like beginning to rise up between the 2 on the left.
The
I
Gandhi dude,
disagree
all
that
that's what
that's
happens
Oh,
there.
see, all right,
Gorosei.
right. So in that picture, before that, we seen one of them block the attack from Sabo. So that's why I think the one coming down is the 5th Gorosei that blocked the attack from Emu, like to stop Emu from getting hurt.
Yeah, I don't think that between the 2 on the left, there's another one. I think one of the Gorosei members is the one on the wall that was simply getting in a position to block Emu from an attack.
No.
No, because we see Emu transform into the big one, and we see like there's the shot of like the one on top with the ringed eyes, Yeah, that.
So I don't think like her when we seen Emu's eyes get more slanted. I don't think that's her transforming or he transforming. I think that was us showing like real emotion from Emu, because we never get any facial expressions, any movement, nothing. We just get straight dialogue and just straight eyes. That's it. But the one time Emu actually is hurt and like she's angry or he actually feels something, and Oda shows that. I don't really think it's a
those eyes aren't what's
Could be
on
wrong.
the big. Then those eyes aren't what's on the big one on the wall. Like I think it looks like the other one's on purpose.
Yeah, but we could all both be wrong and both be right.
This is true. It's all just my guess. Like a lot of people point out that there's one like that one in between, like where the ones that Moog just pointed at. Just posted, like that poster, that one that's in the middle, I believe got bigger and went onto the wall. I believe what you're seeing in that second picture where the one's on the wall is simply like more of the figure that towards the back on the left side of the kind of like flame clouds or mist or whatever that would be around that character. So that's what I see what you're getting at there, but I think that one grew into what's on the wall.
I think Oda did it on purpose, wanting it to be ambiguous, and like, you know, like to play along with like what Rayleigh said and what Atlas said, like you can decide for yourself for now until he's
Right.
But I want to hear specifically what Josh thinks on the matter, and then we never got to unpack your monster point or your different points, like of
your chopper theory.
So
Yeah.
I want to give you the floor to spit that, because that is something I definitely want to hear more about for sure.
Yeah, I think that the big creature, it's actually Emu, and it could be some sort of dragon transformation, and that would fit.
That'd be fire, honestly.
Yeah, I think that big mouth Gorosei, it's actually some sort of slime fruit. And that Gorosei, if we go in order, that will be Jupiter, the god of agriculture. And if he has the opposite power that he desires, slimes are gluttonous creatures that eat whatever they can. It wouldn't fit his title of god of agriculture.
Yeah,
I mean, they look very similar to like Kanjuro, right? And the Big Mom like soul, the incarnations. That's it. They're like the black like soul things with the white eyes. I know it's not the exact same, because in both of those examples you have like the eyes are kind of these. They're not like clear shapes, right? They're more kind of lights. Whereas here they're clear shapes, like the thing that Hyde posted, where it's silhouetting a real thing, right? And that is like probably like one of the biggest bits of evidence for me, is the fact that they are drawn like the sea beasts there, and not like Kazembo or the incarnations, you know.
I was thinking, right, about like what these animals could be, because a lot of people might think, oh, they're mythical zones, or they might be ancient zones, or this could just be their true ass forms. But then, like, what if, because we know they're old as hell, so like, what if these forms are ancient zones, but this is their original form? So if you got a dinosaur, right, X-Drake, you know he has an ancient zone, but what if X-Drake had that fruit since it was an ancient zone, not coming down the line, all right, he's the last one to have the fruit, and then when he dies, the next person can. No, the Gorosei are the first ones with the fruit, and they've had it since like the beginning, since all this shit.
Which is like more matured.
Yeah,
so their powers are like
nobody else
OP.
will know these animals. These animals look exotic and ancient, like they look like they never existed before. But all the time, they have existed just in the ancient history, or 800 years ago, 400, 500.
Yeah, like if they're the source material and not the thing that, you know, like the devil fruit, which is like a reference to the source material. But if they're the OG, you know, like
the OG,
yeah, that could be something.
All right, boys. Well, on that note, we've got a 3-minute warning. So, if you want to plug anything before it's too late, now's the time. Far away.
Two solos.
Okay.
Two, definitely solos, bro.
We got some group 2 love.
Chat just says we solo.
Group 3 is going live tonight. If you all want to check out Dire Regulus's YouTube channel, the Blotto are going live. Yeah, so I want to definitely plug that. Group 2 does in fact solo, and we got the queen of the future queen of the pirates, Scarlet here, Balenci, and then also the first mate here, No Chill Bill. We go live every Tuesday at 8. I got a channel that 3Day just put into there. You can subscribe to that. Definitely subscribe to Muglatan and Denden Kuchi and the
Definitely
new
subscribe to me.
the new Last Arc channel as well. Keep an eye out for that first 3-day voice theory. I wanted to give a massive shout out to Andy Lex, Star Knight Rishia, for again hosting us, doing the stream for today. Massive shout out.
And your 5-ed, Andy.
Quick plug: if anyone has any interest in manhwas, follow Party Pete. Some videos coming soon on some of the Korean, Chinese manhwas, some of that genre. So if you're trying to expand your lexicon of graphic reading, come check out Party Pete.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, links will be in the server later after this.
That heat with Pete.
Indeed.
Also, shout out to Ragnar Lord Vegeta, who's got his own channel. You can catch the VODs for the group.
Yeah, Ragnar, what do you want to say about the expo coming up? Is there anything you want to tell people?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna be at the Anime Expo in LA. I'm going to do like a 70+ hour stream straight. I'll show you everything that happens there. I'll introduce you to some random anime fans, show you some waifus. And you know what I'm saying?
Culture.
I'm not sleeping.
Sure, you gonna be hype. I'm gonna be in that motherfucker the whole time. Watch.
Yeah, definitely. Marathon.
Yeah, everybody subscribe to everybody. Nothing but goats.
Everybody just do everything.
Yeah, subscribe to everyone. Yeah, I got some new theories I'm working on. I was writing up some new theory that I'm planning to upload hopefully by next week or soon. And I'm really liking it, and I have other in store. So sub to my channel, Star Knight Reshare, Andy Lex.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye out because this dude's like on the way to getting the One Piece for sure. Definitely a smart dude, man.
Check out 3 Days video.
Oh, and yes, subscribe to 3 Days.
3 Days.
Yeah, boom. Links in the description, all that stuff in the chat. Yeah, Wrench Game, all that strong. Yeah, so thank you everyone. As always, you've been amazing. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Chad, for engaging. We'll try drop something soon to give you a little bit more spice, keep it going during the big break. And yeah, if anyone's got some last words, say goodbye.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for doing a great job being so active in the chat, in the actual discussion as well. And yeah, thanks for having me, and also Green Bull is Kuina.
What? Yeah, it's true.
Green Bull is Kuina.
I'm here for it.
Damn.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Hyde, and shout out to everyone at TLA, The Last Arc. Nothing but goats, like I said. It's been real.
My last piece, Big Mom will come flying out of the volcano in Wano riding Pluton. Thank you for your time.
Yo, that could be a thing.
What the hell, bro? Oh my god, I was just gonna say Garp Souls, but damn.